Chapter 1543. Immortal Trapping. What's going on with the 9 prefectures? Did I really go back to the prehistoric era? Gohan questioned the immortal trapping sword through his sword mark. I don't know, I really don't know anything. I can't tell if it was the real prehistoric era or a fake one. The immortal trapping sword's answer didn't seem to answer Gohan's question, but it meant that the immortal trapping sword also had doubts about the world of the 9 prefectures. If that was the case, he might have really returned to the prehistoric era. Senior Sister Cloudy Sky, why did you mention that guy who has been forgotten for millions of years? Even if Master really took in such a disciple and this disciple is so powerful, why didn't he come out to help us during the innumerable immortal formation battle? I think he's either dead or betrayed the Jie school. What else do you want him to do? Incongruence Divine Mother said unhappily. Because the 9th junior brother's name is Gohan. Cloudy Sky took a deep breath and said, Gohan? It's exactly the same as the name of the first expert outside? Incongruence Divine Mother finally reacted. Could it be that the number 1 human expert outside was actually the Jie school's 9th inner disciple? This sounded a little too inconceivable. Could it be a coincidence? There are so many humans, it's normal to have 1 or 2 with similar names. Senior Sister, aren't you thinking too much? Incongruence Divine Mother said with a frown. It's not that I'm thinking too much. I just remembered that that person seemed to have told Master that he wasn't from the prehistoric era, but that he came from the future. Yes, I remember that he said something like that, but at that time I treated his words as a ridiculous lie. I didn't pay much attention to it and directly threw it out of my memory. If he didn't lie and was telling the truth, then the number 1 human expert is our 9th junior brother. Lady Qingping, when you were outside, did you ever see Gohan's appearance? Can you describe him to us? Cloudy Sky suddenly said to Qingping excitedly. Gohan. What should I do? Qingping was confused and asked Gohan secretly through the sword mark. Give it to them. Gohan didn't think for long and said directly. How about this? Humans have invented many strange things, including something that can record what happened in the past. There's a picture of Gohan here. I'll show it to you. After receiving Gohan's order, Qingping took out a small projector from her scabbard and played the recording of Gohan. What a magical treasure! It actually has the function of a mystic light mirror. Looking at this thing that could project images, Incongruence Divine Mother was shocked. No, this isn't a dark light mirror. It's a tool made by humans using technology. It's not a magic treasure. Cloudy Sky shook her head. She was different from Incongruence Divine Mother, who was focused on cultivation. When she first entered this world, she found the refugees of the Yamato nation who hadn't lost their intelligence and learned a lot about the outside world. Therefore, she understood human technology and knew that this was not a magic treasure. The video recorded Gohan's trial in Yuzhong City. There were many close-ups of Gohan's face. When Cloudy Sky saw Gohan's face, she said with certainty, It's him, it's him. There's no mistake. He's our 9th junior brother, the last disciple Master accepted. There's no mistake. Are you sure? Incongruence Divine Mother scratched her messy hair. She didn't expect the outside world to be so strange. The strongest person who could defeat 12 Zhu Wu was her 9th junior brother. This was... So he's really one of our patriarchs. That's great. The top human expert is the patriarch of Jie School, our 9th grandmaster. He's also a freak who could defeat 12 Zhu Wu. As long as we join hands with 9th grandmaster, the whole world will belong to our Jie School. When the monsters heard the conversation between Cloudy Sky and Incongruence Divine Mother, they shouted excitedly, as if they had unified the outside world. Why are you so happy? Let's not talk about whether it's true or not. After some time, we'll know if 9th junior brother is willing to recognize us as his senior sisters. We still have to be cautious. Don't place your hopes on others. Just wait here for Master's return. Incongruence Divine Mother's words were like a bucket of cold water poured over everyone's heads, calming them down. Indeed, as Incongruence Divine Mother said, even if Guhan was really their 9th Grandmaster, humans and monsters had always been at odds with each other. They wouldn't stand together so easily unless sect leader Tong Tian was resurrected. Alright, the matters outside have come to an end for now. Next is the problem of how to deal with these human slaves. We've raised these humans for thousands of years, but these humans don't know how to be grateful at all. They actually colluded with outsiders to escape. This is simply unforgivable. Now that all 120,000 humans are under our control, let's discuss how to deal with these humans. The goddess of incongruence asked the crowd proudly. Patriarch, I think we should just kill them all and fill our stomach. At the same time, we can have a sumptuous meal so that we won't cause any more trouble in the future. A pig demon jumped out and said, No, in my opinion, we should just whip them a few dozen times. If we kill all these humans, who will catch the longevity fruit for us? Immediately, a demon jumped out and objected. What's wrong with that? The meat of these humans is much more delicious than any longevity fruit. If we kill these humans and pickle them up, it will be enough for us to eat for a year or two. Another demon retorted. What's wrong with that? Another demon retorted. You idiot, do you just want to be happy for a year or two? In a year or two, we won't have any longevity fruit to eat, and we won't have any humans to eat. Let's see what you're going to say. Pfft, the old ancestor will have revived in a year or two. At that time we can kill our way out. Didn't you hear what Grandmaster Qing Pin said? There are still 200 to 300 million humans outside, enough for us to eat for the rest of our lives. What if the old ancestor doesn't come back? Without humans, do you want me to eat you? The demons were roughly divided into two groups. One group felt that they should kill all of the humans, while the other group felt that killing half of them would be enough. They still had to leave some humans behind to use as seed. The two groups of demons were arguing so hard that they almost started fighting. These beasts. The old ancestor is right. Those who are not of my race must have different intentions. They should all be killed. Hearing the discussions of the demons, Gohan said angrily in his heart. These demons were actually discussing how to swallow humans alive and make them into delicacies. What was the difference between this kind of demon and Yuan Ko? These demons had to be killed, otherwise if they were to be released outside, they would be the same as Yuan Ko, a great disaster. Although the two groups of demons were arguing endlessly, with the suppression of the goddess of incongruence and the mistress of Yun Shao, they gradually found a common ground. In the end, these demons unanimously decided to kill all the humans above the age of 6, cook and eat the delicate ones, and make the older ones into bacon, which could be used slowly in the future. As for those under the age of 6, they could continue to be raised like this. When they grew up, they would become the slaves of the demons who picked the longevity fruit. This sounded like the best of both worlds. Not only could they kill all the new human slaves that had already been born, but they wouldn't completely cut off the source of human slaves in the future. In any case, the humans who survived were still young. With a little brainwashing, they would still be obedient slaves in the future. Very good. Since everyone has come up with a proper plan, then it's decided. At the same time, she ordered the demons to filter out the captured human slaves. Those under the age of 6 were locked up in another place, while those above the age of 6 were all gathered on a large piece of flat land outside the city. When the demons heard that they could eat human flesh, they were naturally overjoyed. They quickly followed the goddess of incongruence's orders, and in less than 20 minutes, they came back to report that they had finished following the goddess of incongruence's orders. All the humans had been divided into two groups according to their age. Alright. The goddess of incongruence smiled slightly. At the same time, she clenched her right hand in the air, and a pitch-black ball that looked like a black hole appeared in her hand. Soul shaking and soul scattering technique. Seeing the black ball in the incongruence Divine Mother's hand, Gu Han's pupils dilated. It was not unreasonable to say that the Jie sect was an evil sect. Most of the spells in the Jie sect were sinister and vicious spells that specialized in attacking the human soul. The great art of soul shaking and soul dispersing was a very famous spell in the Jie school. When it was used, it could completely shatter the soul of an opponent whose magic power was inferior to the user's into powder. In other words, it was the so-called soul dispersing. The soul-shattering spell was actually quite useless. This was because the spell could only be effective when one's magic power was more than 10 times that of the opponent. Moreover, as the number of opponents within the spell's range increased, the magic power required would also increase. Therefore, this spell was not practical in a battle between experts. However, it was the most suitable spell to deal with a group of enemy soldiers, especially the 120,000 humans who were trapped together. These humans were all ordinary people and had no magic power to speak of. With the goddess of incongruence's magic power, as long as she casually threw it, the 120,000 humans would probably have their souls shattered and die on the spot. What was even more amazing was that this spell attacked the soul and did not actually harm the human body. Therefore, after their souls disappeared, these humans could still rely on their physical abilities to live for a period of time. In other words, they were in a vegetative state. Wasn't that the best ingredient for the demons? Not only could it ensure the freshness of the ingredient, but it would also not cause a lot of trouble due to the ingredient's resistance. It was no wonder that the goddess of incongruence would choose to use this spell to kill the remaining humans. Chapter 1544. Go! The black ball that contained enough power to shatter the souls of 100,000 people slowly drifted away from Divine Mother Wudong's hand and gradually accelerated. In the end, it charged towards the bustling and terrified crowd outside the city at the speed of a sports car. As soon as the black ball hit the ground, the 100,000 humans would all die. Sigh. What a sin! It was also at this moment that the demons suddenly heard a slight sigh. Then, a golden sword beam soared into the sky from beside them and struck the black sphere. The entire black sphere was immediately split into two, and a huge amount of energy exploded in the air. Some of the unlucky demons near the explosion point were hit by the energy. 3 of the weakest monsters had their souls scattered on the spot while the rest fainted on the spot. They bled from their 7 orifices. It was obvious that their souls were severely injured, but it wasn't to the extent where they were completely destroyed. Where did this saint come from? How dare he ruin the Jie clan's business? Is he tired of living? Saint Mother Wudong and Lady Yunzhao's expressions changed when they saw their black ball being destroyed. Although the soul-squandering technique was a spell that Saint Mother Wudong casually used, it had actually gathered around 30% of Saint Mother Wudong's power. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to kill 100,000 humans at the same time. However, the person destroyed Saint Mother Wudong's black ball with a single sword chi. Even if the sword chi was the person's full power, the person's power was around 30% of Saint Mother Wudong's. That was enough to threaten Saint Mother Wudong. Where is the person who shot the sword chi? Saint Mother Wudong and Goddess Yunzhao's first reaction was to find the owner of the sword energy. However, the sword energy was extremely fast. Saint Mother Wudong and Goddess Yunzhao weren't prepared at all. They didn't even know where the sword energy came from in a hurry. Ancestor, I saw it just now. The sword chi came from the stage. An eagle monster below the stage said. As an eagle, its vision was naturally extremely sharp. Only he could find the source of the sword chi when Saint Mother Wudong couldn't see it clearly. On the stage, Saint Mother Wudong did not doubt the eagle monster's words. It was obvious that the person was on the stage. The incongruence Divine Mother and Lady Yun Shao could obviously be eliminated. The rest of the monsters on the stage were the incongruence Divine Mother's trusted subordinate. The incongruence Divine Mother definitely believed that these guys wouldn't betray her. Even if they did, they wouldn't have such power. In that case, it was obvious that the Qingping sword was the only one who could do that. Her opponent was a sword, and Tongtian's sword at that, so of course it could release the powerful sword qi. Although there was a weak little monster beside the Qingping sword that incongruent Saint Mother had never seen before, she did not think that the little monster had the ability to destroy her spell. Hence, she ignored it out of habit. "It's me." Seeing incongruence Divine Mother's suspicious gaze, Qingping readily nodded and admitted, "It's me. I was the one who used that sword qi just now." "Ancestor Qingping, why did you do that?" Saint Mother Wudong heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Qingping admit it. She thought that an enemy had invaded. Since it was Qingping who stopped them, then they were no longer his enemies. However, the incongruence Saint Mother immediately became somewhat furious. What was this old ancestor Qingping thinking? Why did he do such a thing? "When I was traveling outside, I made friends with many humans. Don't hurt these poor humans. Let's just set them free and let them go to their own cities." Qingping puffed up her chubby cheeks and said in a cute and matter-of-fact manner, "Ancestor Qingping, how can you think like that? These humans are just our slaves. If they're loyal, they can keep their lives. However, since they chose to betray us, they have to die. Ancestor Qingping, mercy doesn't lead an army. If our Jie school wants to return to the world and recreate the glory of the primordial era, we have to use our supreme might to suppress the entire world. If we don't even kill these traitorous slaves, then who in the world will believe in our dignity?" Saint Mother Wudong said domineeringly. "But these humans are innocent. Many of them didn't want to escape. They don't even know what happened. You can't kill those innocent humans." Qingping retorted with her eyes wide open. In the primordial era, if one person made a mistake, the entire tribe would be annihilated. This is a matter of course. Otherwise, who would have the time to distinguish whether they want to rebel or not? And even if they don't want to rebel now, they will still want to rebel if they have the chance in the future. It's better to kill them all now and save yourself some trouble in the future. Saint Mother Wudong's words could be said to be a classic bandit's logic. "No, I am the Qingping sword, the master's sword, the grandmaster of all of you. Listen to my orders, you are not allowed to kill these humans. At most, you can return to your previous state and let these humans catch the longevity fruit for you." Qingping stood up and used her weak body to block in front of Saint Mother Wudong. Seeing Qingping's obstruction, Saint Mother Wudong hesitated. There was indeed the Grandmaster of Heaven standing behind Qingping, and since Qingping had said that, if she were to make a move, wouldn't that be Junior Sister Wudong? Behind her, Lady Yun Xiao suddenly said in a deep voice, "Junior Sister Wudong, don't you think it strange? Why is our Jie School's Grandmaster Qingping speaking up for humans? Didn't she only move around outside for a few years? Why does she care so much about humans, to the point that she doesn't even hesitate to fight against us, her former disciples?" "That's right. Why?" Goddess Wudong was stunned when she heard this, and asked, "Junior Sister Wudong, have you forgotten? Just now, Grandmaster Qingping personally told us that the swords forged by humans, the swords used by us demons and immortals, and even the Khanate Cardinal Treasures and Xianyuan sword of the primordial era have all become sword maidens in the hands of humans, fighting for humans. Then, could it be that our Grandmaster Qingping lied to the two of us? Is she no longer Master's sword Qingping, but a human sword maiden Qingping? You should know that in the primordial era, we've never seen Qingping's sword turn into this human form." Lady Yun Xiao said faintly. As soon as she said that, all the demons present felt like they were about to explode. "That's right. Just now, Grandmaster Qingping clearly said that all swords have become sword maidens of humans. If that's the case, how did Grandmaster Qingping escape? How could she turn into a free human form and move around? There was only one explanation, and that was that Grandmaster Qing Ping had also become a sword maiden. Previously, the demons were immersed in the shocking news brought by Qing Ping, and did not think so much about it. Now that they heard Lady Yunzhao's words, they immediately felt that it made sense. Many of Grandmaster Qing Ping's actions looked extremely strange. However, if that was really the case, and the supreme sword of the Jie sect, Qing Ping Sword, had actually become a sword maiden of humans, wouldn't that be a slap to the face of the Jie sect? At the thought of that, the demons felt like their heads were about to explode. I'm not a sword maiden. You've misunderstood me. Seeing Lady Yunxiao and Goddess Wudong's aggressive expressions, Qingpin could not help but feel a little flustered, and he kept denying it. Grandmaster Qing Ping, can you turn back into your sword form? Let us take a good look at you. If you really have a fragment of our master's consciousness in your body, then we've wronged you. We're willing to apologize to our master personally. Lady Yunxiao and Divine Mother Wudong said. No. I'm really not. I don't want you to check. You can't check me. Other than saying that, Qingpin did not seem to know what else to say. Alright then. It's fine if you don't want to check me. I'll attack again. This time, Lady Qingping, you can't stop me. Goddess Wudong scoffed. The black sphere from earlier appeared, and it was even bigger than before. Go! Under the gaze of all the demons, Divine Mother Incongruence tossed out the black ball in her hand once again. At the same time, she glared at poor Qing. If poor Qing dared to unleash any golden sword beam, Divine Mother Incongruence would be able to confirm Qing Ping's identity as a traitor. At the same time, she would control Qing Ping on the spot. As the black ball flew further and closer to the terrified human, Qing Ping did not resist at all. This made the incongruence Divine Mother suspect that she had guessed wrongly. Was Qing Ping not the human sword lady? At that moment, Goddess Wudong suddenly felt the power in her body go haywire. She knew that her great technique of soul shuddering and soul dispersing was destroyed for the second time. At that moment, the demons below the platform exclaimed, Golden Sword Qi! That Golden Sword Qi has appeared again. Impossible. I've been staring at her. She didn't use any sword Qi at all. Where did the Golden Sword Qi come from? Goddess Wudong immediately shouted and pointed at Qing Ping. Qing Pin, come back! Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao heard a sigh, and the Qing Ping sword in front of them instantly turned into a sword gleam and disappeared before their eyes. The two of them immediately looked in the direction where the sword gleam disappeared. In the end, they saw an unhappy little demon walking to their side silently. Who are you? Who exactly are you? It was only then that Divine Mother Incongruence came to her senses. All the problems actually stemmed from this inconspicuous little demon. Who exactly is this little demon? Why does it have the power to deal with 30% of my power? Senior Sister Wudong, Senior Sister Yunxiao, I'm here to greet you. The little demon calmly bowed to the two senior sisters. At the same time, the demon's image started to degenerate rapidly. In the end, it turned into a handsome human. Gohan, ninth junior brother. Lady Yunxiao and Goddess Wudong shouted at the same time. Chapter 1545. Be on guard. A demon shouted. All the demons instantly tensed up. Some demons took out their weapons, while others simply transformed into their original forms. The entire venue was immediately filled with an extremely tense atmosphere, as though a fight was about to break out at any moment. What are you doing? All of you, calm down. This is my ninth junior brother, and also your ninth martial granduncle. What are you all doing? All of you, take your things back. Lady Yunzhao's gaze swept across all the monsters. The monsters hesitated for a while, then retracted their battle stances and returned to their original forms. So, Senior Sister Yunxiao still recognizes me as your junior brother. I was too rude just now. Gohan smiled. He actually did not care about these monsters. Apart from Divine Mother Wudong and Goddess Yunxiao, The rest of the demons combined were not enough to withstand the 10 swords of Guhan. Only Divine Mother Wudong and Goddess Yun Shao could make Guhan have some fighting spirit. Don't call me senior sister. I don't care if you're our junior brother or not. Incongruence Divine Mother spat. She kept her guard up against the solid cold. Can this prove it? Gohan waved his hand and the Qingping sword floated quietly beside Gohan. At the same time, as Gohan's fingers moved, the Qingping sword reacted in all sorts of ways. Clearly, the Qingping sword was under Gohan's control. Senior sisters, if I'm not Master's disciple, why do you think I'm recognized by Lady Qingping's sword? Gohan squinted his eyes and said, This. Everyone hesitated. Yes, the Qingping sword was the most precious treasure of the Jie school. Since this human could use the Qingping sword, he definitely had a deep relationship with the Jie school. The Qingping sword could prove many things. There's no proof. Who knows if you used some despicable method to force Lady Qingping to recognize you as her master? The incongruence Divine Mother said in disbelief. This Qingping sword is Master's sword, and Master has never given it to anyone to use. What right do you have to gain Master's approval? Master definitely wouldn't give the Qingping sword to you. Senior Sister Yun Shao, do you remember that back when we fought Senior Brother Myriad Treasure in Green Turing Palace, Master gave Junior Brother the Qingping sword to use? It was also at that time that I formed an indissoluble bond with the Qingping sword dame. That's why I can coordinate with the Qingping sword dame and fight together. Gohan said indifferently. Really? Divine Mother Incongruence cast a confused look at Goddess Yun Shao. Back then, Divine Mother Incongruence did not witness what happened in Aquamarine Palace with her own eyes. Only Goddess Yun Shao was there. Yes, that's true. Lady Yun Shao nodded, confirming Gohan's words. Are you really our little junior brother? Incongruence Divine Mother started to believe Gohan's identity. I guarantee it. Gohan smiled. Then tell me, did you live from the primeval era until now, or did you travel through time and space to become Master's disciple? Divine Mother Incongruence asked curiously. I'm only 45 years old this year. Senior sister, what do you think is the possibility? Gohan smiled. All right, if that's the case, I shall help Master clean up the sect today. Divine Mother Incongruence shouted. She gathered mana in her hands and all sorts of spells were produced instantly. She was ready to smash at Gohan's head. Junior sister, what are you doing? Seeing that the situation was bad, Goddess Yun Shao grabbed Divine Mother Incongruence's hands and shouted. I'm going to help Master kill this ungrateful bee ****. Divine Mother Incongruence said angrily. What are you talking about? How is 9th junior brother ungrateful? Goddess Yun Shao said confusedly. Since this guy returned to the past from the present, he naturally knows the history of the Jie sect very well. He knows that the Jie sect was destroyed by the primeval Lord of Heaven, Taishang Laojun, Saint Jieyin, and Taoist Juandi. Yet, he didn't tell Master about these things. In the end, tens of thousands of our disciples and grand disciples all died, and those pitiful junior brothers even worked hard for others. The huge Jie sect was also destroyed in an instant. If this guy told Master about these things, then why would we have to endure such pain and torture? The incongruence Divine Mother screamed. She pushed all the responsibility of suffering to Guhan. Junior sister, you're crazy. With the strength of those 4 saints, even if we are prepared, we will still die in their hands. The existence of our Jie school is their biggest mistake. Even if there is no great God-confirmant war, they will definitely not let us go. Lady Yun Shao pushed Divine Mother Wudong to the side and shouted, also don't forget, with Master's personality, even if he knew all this, he wouldn't retreat at all. Even if he knew that it was a bottomless abyss in front of him, he would still walk in. Divine Mother Incongruence sighed and put down her hands weakly. The mana that she accumulated earlier also disappeared without a trace. Let me correct you. Actually, because of the apocalypse, we humans have already lost all the history of the past. I only learned about the existence of the primeval era after I returned to the primeval era. After returning to the modern era, I desperately searched for all kinds of stories and information about the primeval era. Only then did I understand a little about the Jiesek. However, it was too late. I've already returned to the modern era, so I can't tell Master about these things anymore. Gohan sighed and said, "Humph. You're stingy with your sweet words." Divine Mother Incongruence snorted in disdain. However, she did not shout at Gohan anymore. Goddess Yunxiao could finally start chatting with Gohan seriously. "Junior brother Gohan, we just learned about the outside world from ancestor Qing Ping. Is the truth like what she said?" Goddess Yunxiao asked curiously. "That's the truth." Gohan nodded. "Junior brother, are you the leader of hundreds of millions of humans in the outside world? The strongest human who even defeated 12 Zhu Wu, right?" Goddess Yunxiao asked again. "That's right." Gohan nodded and admitted it without hesitation. "He's lying. It's impossible for him to be so powerful." Divine Mother Incongruence screamed again. "Actually, I don't care if you guys believe me or not. Seeing that my senior sisters are still alive is the best news for me. I thought that the Jie school had come to an end. I didn't expect the 2 senior sisters and their disciples to still be alive. That's great. As for the rest, it's up to my 2 senior sisters whether you believe me or not. In the future, if the Jie sect needs my help, just say the word and I'll be at your service." Seeing Divine Mother Incongruence's reaction, Gohan did not seem to be bothered to explain anymore. He said straightforwardly, "Humph, don't make it sound so nice. What do you mean by being at my service? If you really respect our 2 senior sisters, why did you interrupt my spell twice just now? Do you still respect me as your senior sister?" Divine Mother Incongruence brought the topic back to what happened just now. "Senior sister, please don't blame me. Although I, Gohan, am Master's disciple, I'm also the Emperor of all humans. I lead billions of humans in the world, and all humans in the world are my people. I'm their father, and they're my children. If you can't even protect your own children, what kind of parent am I?" Gohan said coldly. "Is this the reason why you fought with your senior sister? You have no respect for your elders." The Incongruence goddess spat. "They're just some useless human slaves. Don't forget that we're the ones who raised these humans. They're like pigs that you keep in a pigsty. Don't we, the masters, have the right to slaughter them? The human up there, if you're really our 9th martial granduncle, then be more generous. Why are you being stingy?" "That's right. If you really have hundreds of millions of people under you, then these 200,000 humans are nothing to you. Even if you send a few million humans in for a feast, that's only natural. We, the Jie sect, are one. We're all close brothers. Isn't it more intimate than some lowly humans?" The demons below the stage began to scream. Some of them even asked Gohan to send a few million humans for them to eat. "Junior brother, did you hear what your disciples and grand-disciples are saying? I don't need you to send a few million people in. Get out of my way and let me kill these domestic pigs. Then, I'll give you a piece of meat to taste. I promise you that once you taste human flesh, you'll fall in love with it just like us." Divine Mother Incongruence laughed. "It seems like there's nothing more to say between us." Gohan let out a long sigh. He had no intention of stepping aside. Then junior brother can only offend senior sisters. Senior sisters, kill junior brother first, then go and kill junior brother's people. Do you think I don't dare to do it? Then let me teach you the supreme technique of the Jie sect today. I'll let you know why I'm your senior sister. Divine Mother Incongruence was enraged. The demonic power in her hand appeared again, and she fought with Gohan. "I'm sorry." Gohan pulled out the Qinpin sword and began to deal with her attacks. Both of them were top-notch experts in the world. In the blink of an eye, countless spells and sword techniques were exchanged. As time passed, Incongruent's Divine Mother felt more and more terrified. This human swordsmanship was truly unimaginably powerful. He did not use any magic, but he could use the Qingping sword to destroy all the spells that she had painstakingly gathered. Divine Mother Incongruence had never seen such a battle technique in her life. What was even more frightening was that this human was always in a passive state of emergency. In battle, he would often throw out a spell, and the opponent would directly use a sword to cut off the entire spell. This meant that Gu Han was only defending, and had no intention of attacking. Otherwise, if the other party counterattacked, Divine Mother Incongruence really did not know how to deal with it. "Senior sister, help me!" Divine Mother Incongruence shouted at Lady Yun Xiao, who was beside her in fear. Chapter 1546. Sigh. Goddess Yun Xiao was helpless. Although she did not want to fight against Gohan, the Incongruence Divine Mother was already in danger. She was closer to this junior sister of hers after all, so how could she let her be in danger? She could only join the battle. With Goddess Yun Xiao's help, the Incongruence Divine Mother instantly became excited. Other than throwing out their own spells, they also worked together to perform some secret spells that could only be performed by working together. These secret spells were much more powerful than normal spells. The Incongruence Divine Mother felt that this human would definitely not be able to withstand the secret spells that the two of them used together. However, reality slapped her in the face. The Incongruence Divine Mother and Goddess Yun Xiao's collaboration did not change the situation of the battle. Gohan was still able to withstand the full attack of the two desolate-level Yuan Ko. He did not panic at all. This attack clearly had not reached Gohan's limit. Damn it, if my mountainly seal was still here, I would not allow this bastard to be so arrogant. Seeing that the two of them were still being suppressed, the Incongruence Divine Mother roared in anger. The mountainly seal was the Incongruence Divine Mother's treasure. It was a primordial spiritual treasure. It was said that it could instantly turn into a mountain that weighed millions of tons and crush any opponent into meat paste. It was the Incongruence Divine Mother's strongest treasure. Unfortunately, this treasure was destroyed in the Battle of 10,000 Deities Town. Otherwise, the Incongruence Divine Mother felt that her power could at least increase by 3 times. Why are you talking about this now? If I still had the primordial chaos golden chalice, everything would be even simpler. Goddess Yun Xiao rolled her eyes at the Incongruence Divine Mother. Her mountainly seal was a primordial spiritual treasure, but her primordial chaos golden chalice was a primordial ultimate treasure. It was a treasure of the same level as the Qingping sword. If she had the primordial chaos golden chalice, apart from the sages, no one in the world would be her match. She would not be trapped by this junior. No matter how much the Incongruence Divine Mother and Goddess Yun Xiao missed their past treasures, the reality was that even if they worked together, they would not be able to break through Gohan's defense. That was the most fatal point. Don't be so arrogant. Goddess Incongruence glared at Gohan with resentment. Then, she quickly shot a glance at one of her trusted demons. The demon immediately came to a realization and led a few other demons to sneak out of the square, heading straight for the humans who were trapped outside the city. The Incongruence Divine Mother's plan was simple. I might not be able to break through your defense, but I want to disgust you. Don't you want to protect those humans? I'll let the old man's subordinates kill all of them. At that time, you'll have wasted your efforts. It had to be said that Goddess Incongruence's plan was very vicious and difficult to deal with. After all, Gohan seemed to be completely occupied by Goddess Incongruence and Lady Cloudy Sky. He could no longer save the pitiful humans who were about to die in the hands of the monsters. How dare you! Gu Han snorted coldly as he watched the monsters brandishing their terrifying weapons about to charge into the group of pitiful aboriginals. He didn't want to play with the two senior sisters any longer. He pushed the poverty sword forward with force, and at the same time, an endless amount of sword chi surged out. After becoming Jiandi, Gohan's power had reached a terrifying level. When the sword aura burst out from his body, it was a powerful move that even Zhu Wu could not handle, let alone the two monsters who had lost their treasures. Therefore, the moment the sword aura burst out, Goddess Incongruence and Lady Cloudy Sky, who had been suppressing Gohan, were instantly sent flying by Gohan. Their bodies smashed through tens of buildings before they finally stopped. Before the few monsters could do anything to these pitiful humans, they realized that Gohan had unknowingly appeared in front of them. Ninth Martial Granduncle, please spare us. The monsters were shocked. They quickly threw away their weapons and knelt before Gohan, kowtowing and begging for mercy. On the other side, Goddess Incongruence, who climbed out of the collapsed house, looked extremely furious. She shouted that she wanted to kill Gohan to take revenge. That's enough. What Goddess Incongruence did not expect was that Lady Cloudy Sky, who had also climbed up, slapped Goddess Incongruence's face. The crisp sound could be heard from a few kilometers away. Junior sister, how dare you hit me? Goddess Incongruence was stunned and looked at Lady Cloudy Sky in disbelief. If I don't hit you, are you going to watch us from the GS school kill each other? Lady Cloudy Sky said angrily. Haven't you realized it yet? What Ancestor Qingping said is true. This ninth junior brother is definitely a powerhouse. I'm afraid he has already surpassed senior brother Duobao back then. He's the strongest person below the sage. We won't be his match even if all of us work together. Do you want to bring us to our deaths? But he doesn't respect his elders. He actually dared to attack her senior sister. As her senior sister, if I don't teach him a lesson, how can I? Goddess Incongruence said unwillingly. If you want to teach him a lesson, you have to have the ability to defeat him. Otherwise, it'll be us from the GS school killing each other. We'll be a joke to others, Lady Cloudy Sky said angrily. Lady Yun Xiao said angrily, during the Great God Conferment War, we were able to unite as one by befriending tens of thousands of disciples. Could it be that, at such a critical moment, they were going to kill each other and fight to the death? He's our ninth junior brother after all. As long as we have his help, we can totally leave this damn place and rebuild the world ruled by the GS school. Do you really want to push ninth junior brother to the enemy's side? But I can't accept it. Are we just going to be bullied like this? Goddess Incongruence said unwillingly. You idiot. No matter how powerful ninth junior brother is, can he be more powerful than Master? Now that Master's return is imminent, you can complain to Master if you have any grievances. At that time, I believe that Master will make a fair decision. There's no need for you to continue killing each other. At that time, Master won't forgive you. Moreover, didn't you notice that ninth junior brother has been holding back? Just based on the extremely cold sword chi that he released earlier, do you really think we can fight him with just the two of us if he really goes all out? He already considered our relationship and didn't kill us. Otherwise, the two of us would definitely be severely injured. Lady Cloudy Sky's last sentence probably worked. Goddess Incongruence finally stopped resisting and nodded obediently. She agreed with Lady Cloudy Sky's words. Junior brother, our two senior sisters were a little impulsive just now. We are all from the GS school, and we are good brothers and sisters. These are all your disciples and grand disciples. Why do we have to go to this step and kill each other? Everyone, put away your weapons. Lady Cloudy Sky brought Goddess Incongruence back to Gohan and said with a smile, Senior sister, you can also tell that I've never wanted to fight my fellow disciples. However, since you're the ruler of humans, you must protect your people. These humans can't stay here anymore. I'm going to send them back to the human world. What do you think, senior sister? Gohan looked at the 200,000 humans behind him and said, The humans were in a daze. They had no idea that they had just gone through a life and death crisis. If Gohan didn't stop them, their souls would have been destroyed, and they would have become delicacies in the monsters' stomachs. That's easy. Since they're your people and your people, they're also our people. Of course, we'll treat them well. Junior brother, don't worry. We'll take care of these humans in the future. Lady Cloudy Sky said gently. Senior sister, I'm afraid you heard it wrong. I'm going to bring all these humans out. I don't want them to stay here and continue to trouble you. Guhan said with a smile. You. Ninth junior brother. Goddess Incongruence clenched her teeth and suppressed her anger. She tried her best to smile and said, Ninth junior brother, you don't believe us? Since senior sister said that she would treat them well, of course she would. Junior brother, you don't have to worry about that. The people of the Jie denomination are true to their words. We are not like the guys of the Chan denomination who are full of schemes and tricks to harm our fellow disciples. I, ninth junior brother, feel bad leaving these humans here for senior sisters to take care of. There's no need to say anything else. I'll definitely send these humans away. Senior sisters, just tell me, are you going to let them go or not? Guhan said without any hesitation. Let them go. Of course. What else could Mistress Yun Shao do? She could only nod in agreement. Although the monsters behind her were not happy to see the delicacy that was in their mouths fly away, they could only nod in agreement when they thought of the scene where the two ancestors were sent flying. Thank you, senior sister. Guhan nodded at Lady Cloudy Sky to express his gratitude. Then, he found the fattest woman among the 200,000 people. This woman had met Guhan once before. She was the lady boss of the Human Inn, who was also Amakusa Ichiro's contact. Guhan said a few words to the lady boss, then placed a chip in her hand. Finally, with a wave of sword chi, he sent the lady boss out of this alternate dimension through the secret passageway from before. In less than 10 minutes, many human swordsmen walked out of the secret passage. First, he vigilantly observed his surroundings and found that there were no monsters lying in ambush. At the same time, he also saw that Guhan was confronting all the monsters. Only then did he feel relieved and walked behind Guhan. Amakusa Ichiro took the lead and was the first to reach Guhan's back. Guhan gave Amakusa Ichiro a few more instructions. Amakusa Ichiro nodded and passed a dimensional bag to Guhan. Then, he immediately led his people to evacuate the 200,000 humans. With the efforts of these swordsmen, the 200,000 humans quickly ran towards the freedom and light that they had not seen in 1,000 years. Junior brother, are you satisfied now? Seeing the humans that she had raised painstakingly for 1,000 years all run away, the incongruence goddess said through gritted teeth. Thank you for your kindness, senior sister. Junior brother apologizes to both of you. Guhan bowed to the two of them and waved his hand gently. The dimensional bag that Amakusa Ichiro had brought was instantly opened. A large number of baked sesame cakes, buckets of fragrant rice, and roasted pigs were sent out by Guhan from the dimensional bag and placed in front of everyone. These are all my apologies. I hope that everyone will kindly accept them, Guhan said with a slight smile. Chapter 1547. Perhaps only the demons themselves knew how hard it was for them to live in this alternate dimension. The most delicious thing in this alternate dimension was the longevity fruit that was made up of pure protein. The only source of meat was those pitiful humans. And this alternate dimension was a place that lacked oil and salt. There were no seasonings, and the only cooking methods were barbecue and boiling. What delicious food could there be? Therefore, when Guhan took out the dimensional bag full of food, all the demons went crazy and started to fight for the delicious food. Among all the food that Guhan brought, the one that was consumed the fastest was not the meat that Guhan had expected, but the green vegetables. If these demons wanted to eat meat, they could occasionally eat 1 or 2 humans. However, it was impossible for them to eat vegetables because it was impossible for any vegetables to grow in this alternate dimension that was filled with magma. These useless fellows were actually fooled by a mere leaf. Seeing that her subordinates were fighting for the food that Gohan had brought, and some of the demons were even fighting over a few plates of vegetables, the goddess of Wudong said angrily, "Senior sisters, please don't be angry anymore. Junior brother will apologize to senior sisters and let senior sisters taste these things." Gohan smiled and took out some golden food from another dimensional bag and sent it to Lady Yun Xiao and the goddess of Wudong. "What is this? Did you put poison in it?" The goddess of Wudong immediately said warily, "Senior sister, you must be joking. Is there any poison in this world that can be placed in senior sister's poison? This is just an ordinary cake, it's all a little something from junior brother," Gohan said with a bitter smile. The goddess of Wudong did not believe Gohan's words. Instead, she looked at the cake in Gohan's hand even more warily. "Let me try one." What the goddess of Wudong did not expect was that a fragrant wind blew past her, and the piece of cake in Gohan's hand disappeared without a trace. "Senior sister Yun Xiao, what are you doing? What if this bastard poisoned it?" Seeing Lady Yun Xiao eat the cake in one bite, the incongruous Divine Mother said anxiously, "I believe that my 9th junior brother will not harm me, his senior sister." Yun Xiao chewed the cake in his mouth and revealed an intoxicated expression. He smiled and said, "What's more, with 9th junior brother's ability, if he wanted to harm us, he could have just done it. Why would he waste so much effort?" This cake is really delicious. Can I have another one?" Lady Yun Xiao quickly swallowed the entire cake and looked at the rest of the cake in Gohan's hand with envy. "Of course, these cakes are specially prepared for you two senior sisters," Gohan said with a smile. "Good junior brother, really good junior brother." Yun Xiao praised Gohan and quickly snatched the remaining cakes from Gohan's hands. F***ck. Senior sister, don't eat it all by yourself. Let junior sister have a taste of what it tastes like. The incongruous Divine Mother had actually smelled the fragrance of the cake long ago. When she saw that almost all the cakes in Gohan's hands were eaten by Lady Yun Xiao, she immediately snatched the last cake and stuffed it into her mouth. She bit it hard and flew into the sky. "Oh my God! There's actually such delicious food in this world." The incongruous Divine Mother recalled the delicious food in her mouth and was so excited that tears almost flowed out. Not to mention after falling into this alternate dimension, even during the primordial era when the Jie school was at its peak, she had never eaten such delicious food. "Junior brother, do you have more? And this egg cake?" the incongruous Divine Mother asked anxiously. "Yes, but not much. These are prepared for me. There's not much left even in the human world." Gohan smiled bitterly. Then, he took out all the remaining cakes in his dimensional pocket and gave them all to the two senior sisters. Gohan was lying through his teeth. This was not a precious cake at all. It was an egg cake that Gohan bought from the most ordinary cake shop. Before the apocalypse, it would cost 1 yuan for 2 pieces and 5 yuan per kilogram. Of course, the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother did not know that. They felt that it was the most precious thing in the world when they tasted the shocking delicacy in their mouth. Then, one of the two senior sisters said that Yun Xiao had eaten a few more pieces of cake, so she should have more of it now. The other one said that this was a different group, a yard was a yard, and this time it should be divided equally. These two senior sisters who had worked together for thousands of years almost fought for the sake of Gohan's cake. Yes, thousands of years of sisterhood could not even compare to a piece of cake. Alright, this was actually just an interesting joke. With the relationship between the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother, they would definitely not fight over a small piece of cake. However, it was undeniable that the deliciousness of the cake had completely attracted the cravings of these two ancient demons. After eating 7 to 8 pieces, they realized that there was not much left in their hand. They kept it carefully and planned to eat a piece when they were hungry in the future. Senior sisters, you don't have to be stingy. It's just a small amount of cake. I don't have any more. However, if I can't satisfy both of you, it'll be my fault. Gu-Han smiled and said, Junior brother has already given the order to my subordinates. At the latest the day after tomorrow, there will be more cakes being sent in. I guarantee that both senior sisters will be satisfied. Good junior brother. Senior sister thanks you so much. I appreciate your kindness. Incongruence Divine Mother spoke first. Good. Junior brother. The Incongruence Divine Mother struggled for a long time before she finally said it. Fellow sect members, humans are my people. Please give me face and don't harm humans in the future. However, I promise everyone that in the future, food like today's will be sent here once every month. Everyone will be able to eat the delicacies that have been meticulously cooked by us humans. What do you guys think? Gu-Han suddenly flew into the sky and spoke to all the demons with a voice that echoed throughout the alternate dimension. Great! This is great! This is great! That's right. If we can eat such delicious food every day, who would be willing to eat that sour human flesh? Long live the Ninth Grand Master! Ninth Grand Master is great! When the demons heard Gu-Han's words, their resentment towards Gu-Han for stopping them from eating human flesh disappeared instantly. They began to praise Gu-Han loudly. This ninth junior brother really knows how to win people's hearts. The Incongruence Divine Mother said sourly when she saw how Gu-Han managed to win the favor of almost all the monsters with just some food. If you're not happy, why don't we work together to chase ninth junior brother out? Incongruence Divine Mother looked at the Incongruence Divine Mother and said naughtily, Forget it then. I haven't had enough cake yet. The Incongruence Divine Mother immediately gave in. After the chaos in the day, Gu-Han successfully resolved the grudge between him and all the disciples of the Jie sect through food diplomacy. At the same time, he became the VIP of the Jie sect. That night, everyone held a feast for the guests on the square, and held a joyous bonfire party. Gu-Han even took the initiative to apologize to the Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother. He even said a lot of witty words. Only then did the Incongruence Divine Mother smile and officially admit that Gu-Han was their ninth junior brother and a member of the Jie sect. With the approval of the Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother, Gu-Han officially joined the Jie sect. The atmosphere of the party reached its climax. Gu-Han happily played some games passed down from the primordial era with all the demons and sang the songs of the primordial era. In the end, they even got drunk together. Of course, it was not only because of the food. If Gu-Han did not suppress everyone with his strength and make all the demons speechless, the food diplomacy would not have been as smooth as it was today. In the following time, Gu-Han stayed in the alternate space with the excuse that he wanted to catch up with his senior sisters and understand the situation of the primordial era. Apart from learning the knowledge of the primordial era and the spells of the Jie sect every day, he would drink and chat with the demons. Gu-Han's status in the alternate space increased rapidly. Very soon, he was on the same level as the Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother and Incongruence Divine Mother were not unhappy about this. After all, Gu-Han's strength was there, and he was the real ninth junior brother. It was only natural that they were on the same level. Junior brother Gu-Han, what is your ambition? After a day of drinking, Incongruence Divine Mother suddenly asked Gu-Han. Senior sister, why are you suddenly asking me this? Hearing Incongruence Divine Mother's question, Gu-Han asked curiously. Nothing. I just feel a little emotional when I think about how we waste our time here every day. Incongruence Divine Mother sighed. This answer was normal, but it gave off a strange feeling. All right, since senior sister asked, I'll answer truthfully. Gu-Han smiled and downed the wine in his cup in one gulp. My dream is very simple. I want to end the chaos in the outside world and eliminate all the Yuan bandits. At the very least, I want to eliminate all the filthy and polluted Yuan bandit. Then, I want to lead the humans to rebuild their homeland. I want to let every human walk safely on every piece of land in this world. They don't have to worry about being eaten by someone at any time like now. Chapter 1548. Junior brother, do you still hate us for eating your humans? Hearing Gohan's words, Goddess Yunxiao's expression turned ugly. No, I won't hate this. Gohan smiled. If humans can eat pork and chicken, why can't demons eat human flesh? The weak are prey to the strong, survival of the fittest. This is the great Tao of this world. If I want to blame someone, I should blame the great Tao. Why would I blame senior sisters and my disciples? Are you telling the truth? Goddess Yunxiao looked deeply at Gohan and asked. Yes, it's truer than real gold. Gohan said emotionally. Sigh. Goddess Yunxiao kept silent for a long time and finally straightened her body. With her back facing Gohan, she said plainly, Go, leave tonight. It'll be too late if you don't leave now. Huff huff huff. Goddess Yunxiao didn't get a reply. She turned around and realized that Gohan had already fallen asleep. This guy actually got drunk under the good wine. Fine, this is probably fate. Mistress Yunxiao sighed. Junior brother, hurry up and change your clothes. Hurry up and change into these clothes. Early the next morning, he felt dizzy and cold. As soon as he opened his eyes, he heard the anxious voice of the incongruous Divine Mother. Senior sister, what's wrong? Why are you rushing me? Could it be that senior sister is getting married? Gohan got up from the bed and said with a gloomy face. Little rascal, don't tease me like this. Goddess Wudong knocked Gohan's head and said, Good news, Master is back. What? Gohan shuddered and woke up instantly. He asked excitedly, Senior sister, what did you say just now? Can you repeat it again? Who came back? It's Master. Master is back. Goddess Wudong said excitedly. I went to the exit just now and realized that Master's consciousness fragment that was left at the exit had been changed. The consciousness fragment that told us to stay calm in this alternate dimension has been replaced by a brand new consciousness fragment. This consciousness fragment is telling us that Master has already recovered, and he's probably rushing over here to bring us out. Alright, that's enough. Junior brother, hurry up and change into these clothes. Otherwise, when Master gets here, it'll be a great crime of disrespect. The incongruous Divine Mother urged happily. Alright, I miss you so much. Gohan's face was also full of joy. Of course, he was happy. He had stayed in this alternate dimension for a long time and pretended to be courteous to these monsters. There was only one reason. He wanted to find sect leader Tong Tian and then launch a fatal assassination on him. As it turned out, Gohan did not wait in vain. As Gohan had expected, Tong Tian had appeared in this strange space. The moment Tong Tian showed up would be the best time for Gohan to assassinate Tong Tian. Then quickly change your clothes. The incongruous Divine Mother threw a set of clothes to Gohan. What clothes are these? Why do I have to change into these clothes? Can't I wear my own clothes? Gohan weighed the clothes in his hand and found that it was a rather old set of clothes. Sniffing it with his nose, he could smell a strong musty smell. He didn't know how long this set of clothes had been in the warehouse. Junior brother, you're a half-baked junior brother after all. You don't know the rules of our Jie school. Usually we can wear whatever we want. Master won't care about it. But when it's time to formally greet Master, we have to wear our Jie school's Taoist robe. Otherwise, Master will be angry. Look, this is the Jie school's Taoist robe. This is the symbol of our Jie school. Only by wearing this Taoist robe can you be a disciple of our Jie school. Don't look down on this Taoist robe. This Taoist robe is made from the nibbling of an ice silkworm left behind from the primordial era, along with hundreds of rare materials. It can defend against all attacks below the true immortal level, and it can also calm one's mind and balance one's yin and yang. This Taoist robe can only be worn by inner chamber disciples like us. The others can only wear normal robes. This is the symbol of us inner chamber disciples, incongruence Divine Mother said proudly. I see. Gu Han nodded and touched the Taoist robe. He found that the texture was indeed unique. There was an icy cold feeling to the touch, accompanied by a kind of stickiness. It was indeed not a feeling that any textile that Gu Han knew of could have. But senior sister, it's not the prehistoric era anymore. The ice silkworm is extinct. Where did this Taoist robe come from? Gu Han asked curiously. Sigh, this isn't someone else's Taoist robe. It's your poor senior brother Zhao Gongming's Taoist robe. The incongruence Divine Mother sighed. This Taoist robe was given to Lady Yun Shao by junior brother Zhao Gongming before he died. He hoped that Lady Yun Shao would bring this Taoist robe back to Aquamarine Palace and bury it somewhere. It would be his last wish. Unfortunately, senior sister Yun Shao was harmed by old Lord Taishang. She was suppressed under the Qilin cliff for God knows how long. This Taoist robe has been with senior sister Yun Shao. It only found a new owner today. I see. Gu Han nodded emotionally. That's weird. Where did senior sister Yun Shao go? Why didn't she give this Taoist robe to me personally? Oh, senior sister Yun Shao has to be in charge of the preparations for Master's arrival. For example, things like the incense table and candles. It's rather complicated, so she has to handle it personally. That's why she asked me to guide you. I say, why do you have so much nonsense? If you don't put on this Taoist robe, Master will be here soon, the incongruence Divine Mother urged angrily. All right, senior sister, don't be angry. I'll just put it on. It's not a big deal. Gu Han laughed and put on the Taoist robe in front of the incongruence Divine Mother. The incongruence Divine Mother's anger turned into joy. She pulled Gu Han's hand and said, Hurry to the square. Master will be here soon. When Gu Han and the incongruence Divine Mother arrived at the square, Lady Yun Shao was indeed waiting there. At that moment, the entire alternate space was filled with the ringing of a bell. The ringing of the bell sounded extremely shocking at first. It was as if heaven and earth were being split apart. Those with weak cultivation might even have their souls torn apart by the ringing of the bell. However, when they listened to it for the second time, they could feel that apart from the ringing of the bell, there was also an endless murderous aura. Just the sound alone could kill everyone in the world. When they listened to it for the third time, they could hear that everything in the world came from the ringing of the bell. It was as if heaven and earth, as well as the chaos of the universe, originated from the ringing of the bell. All in all, each time they listened to the ringing of the bell, they could hear a completely different feeling. The greatness of the ringing of the bell had already surpassed the limits of what humans could imagine. It's Master's heaven-reaching bell. Master's heaven-reaching seed is ringing. Master is here. When the incongruence Divine Mother heard the ringing of the bell, she immediately shouted excitedly. Following the ringing of the bell, there was a song. The song sounded clear and melodious, but at the same time, it was ethereal and extraordinary. It came from the clouds in the sky. It was faint and indescribable. Gu Han listened attentively and could clearly hear what the song was about. The principle of splitting heaven and earth is clear, discussing scriptures and techniques in Bo Capital. The 5 Qis gathering essence technique. The 3 flowers at the head perform lifeless. The golden light above his head was colorful, and the red lotus under his feet chased after 10,000 miles. The 8 trigrams immortal robe flew with purple energy, and the 3 sharp treasured sword was named Qing Ping. Subduing tigers and dragons was the first. Capturing demons and restraining monsters was unstoppable. There were about 3,000 disciples, followed by the elite. The heavenly flowers fell endlessly, and the golden lotus bloomed on the ground. It is soundless to enlighten the masses and nurture the right path. The banners led the way, and the music sounded in time. The Kuei Nyo sat steadily in front of the Jie sect leader, and the immortal children burned the incense sticks. The dense sandalwood clouds were long, and the murderous aura was dense. When the white crane flew, the world turned, and the green phoenix spread its wings. The sea and mountains were clear. The Grand Master of Heaven left the Golden Palace and gathered 1,000,000 immortals. Hong Jun was born to see the heavens open, and the ugly man on the altar. He refined the golden body infinite tribulation, and the green touring palace nurtured many talent. As time passed, the song was originally ethereal and unruly, and no one knew where it came from. It became like it was exploding in Gohan's ears. When the last sentence about nurturing many talents in the green touring palace, the incongruous Divine Mother immediately pulled Gohan to kneel on the ground. At the same time, she said softly, "Master is already here. Hurry up and kowtow to Master." Boom! After the sound of a heavy object landing on the ground, a leisurely sandalwood fragrance instantly spread throughout the entire square. The 8 great disciples of the Jie sect, the unfilial disciple Wudong, kowtows to the Grand Master of Heaven. "Master, the world is everlasting, the sun and moon shine together, and is indestructible." The incongruous Divine Mother lowered her head and said excitedly. The 8 great disciples of the Jie sect, the unfilial disciple Yunshao, kowtows to the Grand Master of Heaven. "Master, the world is everlasting, the sun and moon shine together, and is indestructible." The incongruous Divine Mother lowered her head and said excitedly. At this moment, almost all the disciples of the Jie sect knelt down to congratulate their Grandmaster's arrival. Only Gohan raised his head and stole a glance in front of him. He saw an old man standing quietly in front of everyone. His eyes seemed to be filled with the sun, moon, and stars, and was looking at everyone with a look that seemed to have the world in his heart. The Grandmaster of Heaven. It's really the Grandmaster of Heaven. Gohan recognized him immediately. Although this old man was slightly different from the Grandmaster of Heaven he met in Chaser of the 9 States, he was exactly the same as the Grandmaster of Heaven in the last memory of the Sage Relic. The real Grandmaster of Heaven had actually appeared. "Good disciples, it's been hard on you. You've suffered all these years." The Grandmaster of Heaven let out a long sigh and walked slowly to the many disciples who knelt on the ground. He opened his arms gently as if he wanted to hug everyone in his arms. This is the chance. Gohan's eyes lit up instantly. He unsheathed the Qingping sword in his hand and gathered all the strength in his body. Unexpectedly, he turned into a beam of light in an instant and stabbed toward the Grandmaster of Heaven. Plop! After Gohan stabbed the Qingping sword into the Grandmaster of Heaven's body, the Grandmaster of Heaven's face revealed a look of disbelief. Then, his body exploded in an instant. The Grandmaster of Heaven died just like that? After the explosion, Gohan looked at the Qingping sword in his hand and thought to himself in disbelief. Gohan thought that he would have to go through a tough battle to kill the Grandmaster of Heaven. He never expected that the Grandmaster of Heaven would be killed with just one sword. Chapter 1549. It's fake. Gohan was not stupid. If sect leader Tong Tian could be killed so easily, it would not be sect leader Tong Tian. Therefore, the moment sect leader Tong Tian exploded, Gohan realized that he had killed a fake sect leader Tong Tian. At the same time, he might have fallen into a trap. Therefore, he did not care about the others and directly rushed out of the alternate space. "Good disciple, stay." Suddenly, countless green lights surged out of nowhere and grabbed at Gohan. "Open!" The Qingping sword in Gohan's hand danced, and the green lights were all shattered by Gohan in an instant. However, at this time, Lady Yunshao and Goddess Wudong attacked at the same time. One of them took out a big seal, and the other took out a golden dipper. The big seal instantly turned into a huge mountain and pressed down on Gohan's head. The golden dipper suddenly emitted a strong suction force. The suction force was so strong that it seemed to be able to suck everything in the world into it. Li Mountain Seal and Primordial Chaos Golden Dipper. Seeing these two treasures, Gohan's expression changed instantly. Gohan, who had obtained the memory of the sage's relic, immediately recognized these two treasures. One of them was a primordial spiritual treasure, and the other was a primordial cardinal treasure. They were both the top weapons in Untainted Land, and also the life treasures of Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao. Once these two treasures were in their hands, the strength of these two senior sisters would increase by more than 4 times. However, these two treasures had clearly been taken away by the primordial Lord of Heaven and Taishang Laojun. How did they return to their hands now? Junior brother, don't go. Stay here and wait for Master's punishment, Goddess Wudong said faintly, as if she had long been confident about Gohan's betrayal. I'm afraid you two senior sisters can't stop me. Gohan sneered. He held the Qinpin sword in one hand and the Xianyuan sword in the other. Holding both swords in his hands at the same time, he directly activated the yin-yang sword technique. The power of the two sword ladies increased by more than several times in an instant. Heaven's splitting primal chaos. The two invincible sword ladies crossed each other in the air, and the terrifying sword Qi directly collided with Li Shan Yin and Primordial Chaos Golden Dipper. Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao did not expect Gohan to have such a powerful trump card. Even Li Shan Yin and the Primordial Chaos Golden Chalice could not withstand it. The two of them were sent flying. The houses in the town were turned into ashes by the collision of the 4 ultimate treasures. Countless monsters were bleeding from their orifices due to the strong power. Just as the monsters were about to die from the aftermath of the battle, the green light that had appeared earlier swept into the bodies of the monsters, allowing them to escape from the battlefield. Sect Leader Tong Tian. Gohan looked at the green light and said while gritting his teeth. After obtaining his natal treasure, Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao were no longer easy opponents. At the moment, Sect Leader Tong Tian was hiding in the dark, so Gohan did not dare to continue fighting. He had to escape immediately. Therefore, after repelling the joint attack of Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao, Gohan did not continue to chase after them. Instead, he fled in the direction of the exit. Sigh, evil disciple. Suddenly, a faint sigh sounded in his heart. Gohan, who was fleeing for his life, suddenly felt a strong sense of suffocation. His entire body was suddenly squeezed by a huge force. This feeling was like his body was held in the palm of a giant, and at this moment, this giant was planning to crush his body. This Taoist robe is strange. Gohan immediately realized that the strange force came from the Taoist robe he was wearing. On second thought, wasn't this the Taoist robe that Goddess Wudong tried to tempt him to wear? At this moment, even a fool would understand that this Taoist robe was not an ordinary Taoist robe that only had defensive abilities. It was a tool that Goddess Wudong used to plot against him. It was a talisman that would hasten his death. He was completely tricked by Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao. Evil disciple, my 8 trigrams immortal robe is not something that you can wear. Sect Leader Tongtian's mocking voice rang in Gohan's ears. This is your 8 trigrams immortal robe. Gohan's eyes widened. The Taoist robe he was wearing was actually Sect Leader Tongtian's 8 trigrams immortal robe. This robe was not famous in Untainted Land, but it was clearly shown in Saint Jie Yin's memory that this 8 trigrams immortal robe was also a primordial spiritual treasure. It was worn by Sect Leader Tongtian since he was born. It could be said to be one with Sect Leader Tongtian. Although this robe was worn by Gohan, its owner was still Sect Leader Tongtian. Therefore, Sect Leader Tongtian could control this 8 trigrams immortal robe and was ready to crush Gohan's body. It's just a primordial spiritual treasure. Don't even think about trapping me. Gohan gritted his teeth and said. The Qingping sword and the Xianyuan sword in his hands flew up at the same time and pointed their sharp blades at his 8 trigrams immortal robe. Master, please forgive me for being unfilial. Today I'll use your treasures to destroy your 8 trigrams immortal robe. If the Qingping sword and the Xianyuan sword were both primordial supreme treasures, it would not be too difficult for them to destroy the 8 trigrams immortal robe at the primordial spiritual treasure level. Is that so? Sect leader Tongtian's voice rang out indifferently. Then, the Qingping sword floating behind Gohan suddenly attacked. When Gohan was caught off guard, it directly pierced through the 8 trigrams immortal robe on Gohan's body and pierced through Gohan's heart. Chi Pin you! Gohan spat out several mouthfuls of blood. He lowered his head in disbelief and looked at the Qingping sword that had pierced through his chest. Then, his eyes darkened and he instantly fell from the sky, hitting the ground heavily. A huge flame erupted like a nuclear bomb, burning the entire alternate dimension red. Husband, please give up on the Qingping sword lady. Otherwise, one day, she will pierce through your chest. The moment Gohan lost consciousness, I Ching's words to Gohan in that small instance rang in Gohan's ears again. I'm sorry, Qinger. You were right. I really died in the hands of Qingping. Gohan murmured in pain. Then, he instantly lost consciousness and collapsed on the crimson ground. Master! Lu Shihua, who was arduously commanding the humans to set up defenses and preparing to deal with the attack of Yuan Ko's army, suddenly felt his vision go black. It was as if he had lost something important in his heart. He collapsed in the office, giving the surrounding sword-bearers who were waiting for orders a great shock. Gohan! Liu Yanling felt a sharp pain in her heart as well. It felt as if her heart had been crushed by someone. However, Liu Yanling was stronger than Lu Shihua, so she struggled and did not faint. At the same time, in a warm room filled with childlike innocence, Gu Fan, who was sleeping soundly, began to wail loudly. It woke up when Meiyun and her daughter, who had not slept for several days. In a world shrouded in darkness, where not a single ray of light could be seen, a blonde girl who was sleeping soundly suddenly opened her eyes. In Mount Paradise, which was singing majestically, the dust on the angel statues that stood on the highest peak of Mount Paradise fell off, revealing the pure white wings wrapped in the dust. In a colorful void world with a large number of floating corpses, a crystal tear fell from a mature beauty's eye. Her limbs were tightly bound by countless chains, making it impossible for her to move. On the side of a river, a middle-aged man trembled as he looked at the water in front of him. Behind him was Fleeting Maple, the balancer from another world, whom Gohan had only met once. Father, this is a calamity that he and she will have to go through. You are already an outsider, so don't interfere. Finally, in the heavenly court that was filled with Buddhas, the Jade Emperor, who was sitting high up with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes as if he had received a signal. He said to the surrounding Buddhas, "Do it." Gohan did not know that his death had ushered in a great change in countless worlds. Cough cough. Gohan finally opened his eyes, and the first thing that came into view was Gohan's own body. However, do not misunderstand, Gohan did not see his own body when he lowered his head. His own body was currently floating in front of him, at least a dozen meters away from him, and the Qingping sword was still stuck in his heart. As for how Gohan could see the body that was more than 10 meters away from him, it was naturally because Gohan's head had been separated from his body. The headless body stood in the distance, while Gohan's head was somewhere else. Sorry, Gohan had lost the ability to lower his head, so he could only see the scenery in front of him. Gohan could not see what was below his head. "You're awake." A familiar voice sounded in his ear. Although Gohan could not see the owner of the voice, he could tell that it was Lady Yunzhao's voice. "I would rather not have woken up." Gohan looked at his separated body, his eyes filled with deep sorrow. "I already reminded you to leave, but you—" Lady Yunzhao's voice contained many complicated emotions. "Thank you, senior sister, but there are some things that cannot be avoided. You made your choice, and I made my choice too. As for Qingping, she has also made her own choice. Guhan said indifferently. There was not the slightest hint of regret in his words, only endless sorrow. Being stabbed in the heart by his first sword lady, who was also his favorite and most treasured sword lady, was the biggest blow to Guhan. Guhan's heart was already broken, although Guhan did not have a heart now. Chapter 1550. Good disciple, you have to remember. Whether it's the Qingping sword or the 4 fairy-slaying swords, they are my swords, not yours. You're just a pawn used by my 2 unscrupulous senior brothers. Guhan felt as if his head was being lifted by something. Then, Tongtian's old face appeared in front of him. At that moment, Guhan finally saw his surroundings. As far as the eye could see, there was lush greenery everywhere, and at the same time it was filled with fresh and fragrant air. In the distance, he could even see the faintly discernible silhouette of the largest city. With one glance, Guhan could recognize that it was Yanjing City. I'm back in the main world. At that moment, Guhan understood that he had been taken out of the alternate dimension and arrived in the main world. Moreover, he was not far from Yanjing City. It was only about 100 kilometers away from Yanjing City. Only at this distance could he see the city walls of Yanjing City so clearly. At that moment, Guhan's head and body were actually floating in the air. Apart from Tongtian, Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao were also behind him. Since these swords belong to Master, why don't you just kill me? Why did you wake me up? Although Guhan was in Tongtian's hands, he did not show the slightest hint of fear. You're very calm. This is very similar to me. Tongtian could not help but praise Guhan when he saw how calm he was. It's nothing. If one day you're in my hands like today and can't fight back, you'll lose all your fear. At most, you'll just die. Guhan smiled. He indeed looked like a human who had completely let go of life and death. It's not that easy to die. Tongtian looked at Guhan meaningfully. I have 1,000 ways to make you feel like you're better off dead than alive. If I may be so bold, is there anything in this world that's more painful than splitting a consciousness fragment? Guhan asked curiously. No. Sect leader Tongtian was calm. Then, Master, please torture your disciple. Your disciple can endure anything. Master, please do it. Guhan smiled. Ah, your temper and mouth are like mine. It would be great if you were really my disciple. Tongtian laughed and threw Guhan's head away. Lady Yunxiao immediately flew up and held Guhan's head in her arms. Good disciple, I'm not like your Uncle Master and Uncle Master who like to talk. You're not like the 2 scoundrels of the Western sect who like to play tricks. Open your dimensional pocket and take out the 4 immortal slaying swords inside. Then, I'll let you live and let you reunite with your body. Then, you can return to your Yanjing City. In the future, you and I will fight again to decide the ownership of the world. What do you think? Sect leader Tongtian laughed out loud. Master, you really want the 4 fairy-slaying swords? Guhan could not help but smile. Disciples Zhu Xian 4 swords are in that dimensional pocket. Master's power is unparalleled, and you are also the only saint in the world. You could have forcefully opened Disciple's dimensional pocket. Why would you let Disciple live? Humph, if I could open your dimensional pocket, you unfilial Disciple would have been dead already. I definitely wouldn't spare your life. After all, you are the last chi of this world, and this is the best opportunity to kill you. I really don't want to let go of this opportunity. Sect leader Tongtian said coldly. Ha ha ha, in your eyes, the 4 fairy-slaying swords are more important than the world? Guhan asked. Tongtian did not answer. He just looked at Guhan quietly. Guhan's heart was clear. The reason why Tongtian's sect leader kept him alive was because of the 4 immortal execution swords. As soon as he found out that it was a trap, Guhan stuffed all the 4 fairy-slaying swords into the dimensional pocket and sealed them firmly. He even used consciousness fragments to block the entrance of the dimensional pocket. This made it impossible for Tong Tian to break the dimensional pocket by force. Unless Gohan agreed, it was impossible to open Gohan's dimensional pocket in any case. This was the only reason why Gohan survived. It seemed that Tong Tian still had a deep hatred for the 4 fairy-slaying swords. It was just that it was unknown whether Tong Tian wanted to get the 4 fairy-slaying swords to take back what belonged to him or to take revenge. After all, if it were not for the betrayal of the 4 fairy-slaying swords, it was very likely that Tong Tian would have defeated his fellow disciples. Why did he have to endure endless torture in the seamless corridor? Master, if you want the 4 fairy-slaying swords, I can agree to your deal, Gohan finally said after a long silence. All right, I can swear to my true self that as long as you hand over the 4 immortal exterminating swords to me, I will allow you and your body to fuse together. Furthermore, I will not appear to cause trouble for you for 30 years. 30 years later, you and I will fight again and finally decide the fate of the world, Tong Tian said lightly. These words sounded like empty words, but since Tong Tian swore to his true self, it was enough to prove the authenticity of this oath. Haha, Master, in order to kill me, I'm afraid you've already used up what's left of your consciousness fragments. These 30 years are probably used by Master to recuperate. Even if you don't take this oath, these 30 years are also mine. Master, don't lie to me anymore. Gohan laughed and unceremoniously exposed the true situation of sect leader Tong Tian. So what? Seeing that his purpose had been exposed by Gohan, Tong Tian did not change his expression at all. He still said in a calm tone, "If you don't agree, you won't even have 30 years. Didn't I agree just now?" Gohan smiled bitterly. "But you and I can change the conditions. Suddenly, I don't want the 30 years. I only want another condition." "What condition?" Tong Tian asked with narrowed eyes. "Master, you can take the 4 fairy-slaying swords, but I hope that you can leave the Qingping sword for me." Gohan finally said this condition. "You want the Qingping sword?" A trace of killing intent flashed across Tong Tian's eyes. "I understand. You want revenge, right? You want to avenge Qingping's sword for plotting against you yesterday." "Yes." Gohan stared blankly at Tong Tian, not concealing the grief, anger, and killing intent in his heart. "Qingping is the first sword lady in my life, and she's also my favorite. I treat her like my own daughter and give her everything I can. But in the end, Disciple did not change her at all. The moment she inserted herself into Disciple's heart was already dead. If Disciple does not take revenge, then Disciple will never be able to revive, and Disciple will no longer have a need to live," Gohan said through gritted teeth. "I see. I can understand your feelings very well." Hearing Gohan's words, Tong Tian's eternally unchanging face suddenly revealed an expression of deep sympathy. "Good Disciple, I'm actually the same as you. 1,000 years ago, when I saw the 4 immortal slaying swords, which I had painstakingly refined for tens of millions of years, insert them into my body, I felt the same as you now. Even though I had already severed the 3 separations, I still can't forget that bone-deep hatred," Tong Tian said faintly. "So, after you got the 4 immortal slaying swords back, you had to tear out all the souls of these 4 evil creatures and trap them in the time void that has no future. Only by making them suffer for endless years could you make up for the hatred in your heart." Tong Tian's words made Divine Mother Wudong and Mistress Cloud Sky, who were behind Gohan, shiver. They had heard of the time void before. It was said that it was a place where time could not touch. Similar to the seamless corridor, it was a place where there was no concept of time, and a moment there was equal to eternity. However, the difference between the seamless corridor and the seamless corridor was that the seamless corridor had an exit, but the time void had absolutely no exit. Even a saint would not be able to escape after entering the time void, because it was the graveyard of the world, the place where countless worlds died and collapsed. Unless one could surpass all the worlds, it was impossible to leave the time void. That's great. Since Master can understand my pain, please give me the Chinpin sword, and I will definitely return the 4 immortal slaying swords to you. Gohan said immediately. Disciple, if only one sword stays by your side when all your sword ladies betray you, and uses its own life to protect you, even if it becomes an ordinary sword in the end, will you let this sword leave your side and give it to your enemy? Tong Tian said lightly. I see. I understand now. Gohan's face darkened and he said emotionally, Master, please do it. You can raise other conditions, and I might be able to agree to it. Tong Tian tried to persuade Gohan when he saw the determination on his face. There's no point in saying more. I don't have any conditions other than the Chinpin sword. Gohan rejected him quite straightforwardly. So even the city in front of you can't change your mind? Tong Tian pointed at Yanjing City in front of him and said, Haha, please forgive me for being blunt, but there are your grand disciples in Yanjing City, as well as the successor of the Liunian family and hundreds of thousands of sword-bearers. With your current strength, I'm afraid you can't touch Yanjing City at all. Gohan said indifferently. Disciple, you're right. I can't touch this city now, and I don't want to touch this city either. However, if I don't move, the others won't. Coincidentally, they've already arrived. As soon as Tong Tian's voice trailed off, countless clouds pressed down from the distant sky, covering the entire sky like giant prehistoric beasts. This was only the strange phenomenon in the sky. In the distant west, countless magical beasts' army were rushing over in a frenzy. In the east, all kinds of humans and demons were also coming over by treading on the sea. Finally, countless dimensional doors opened, and many human heroic spirits broke through the void and floated quietly in the sky of Yanjing City. The Heavenly Court, the Western Magical Beasts, the Fusang Divine Branch, and finally the Heroic Spirit Palace. These 4 largest Yuan co-factions had come out in full force, and more than 90% of their forces were gathered near Yanjing City. They planned to completely destroy the remaining human forces in one fell swoop. Just by looking at the strength of the parties involved in the battle, this was already the most powerful battle in the past 1,000 years, with the greatest number of enemies. The humans were also facing the most dangerous moment in the past 1,000 years. The degree of danger was even greater than that of the 12th Zhu Wu. If the humans could win this battle, they would be able to wipe out all the Yuan co-factions in one fell swoop, and the rule of the world would completely return to the hands of the humans. However, if the humans were defeated, there would probably no longer be a human race in this world. Chapter 1551. Sigh. Seeing the crisis that humans were in, Gohan, who only had a head left, could not help but burst into tears. He looked at the city in the distance, as if he could see Lu Shihua and Liunian Ling fighting in Yanjing City. How about it? Have you made up your mind? Sect leader Tong Tian asked calmly after waiting for a while. Master, you don't have to persuade me anymore. Gohan smiled. I'm not stupid. I'm afraid that the 4 fairy-killing swords are the key to destroying this world. If Master did not obtain the 4 immortal slaying swords, then perhaps this world could still continue to exist. But if Master obtains the 4 immortal slaying swords, then we humans will truly die without a burial ground. So what if we have another 30 years? It's just a cup of soil. No, I'm afraid that even the soil will be gone by then. You're quite clear about this. Sect leader Tong Tian sneered, but he did not deny what sect leader Tong Tian said. He seemed to not want to persuade Gohan anymore, so he left directly. Before he left, he warned Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao, who were guarding the place, that Gohan must not have a moment to rest. They must keep Gohan's eyes on Yanjing City, so that Gohan could see everything that was happening in Yanjing City at all times. Soon, the reason for sect leader Tong Tian's order was revealed. On the second day after sect leader Tong Tian disappeared, Yuan Ko's army was finally ready. The allied army of the four major forces, as well as some small forces that were summoned by the four major forces, appeared one after another. They launched a desperate attack on Yanjing City with the four major forces. Fortunately, the dimensional wall system in Yanjing City had been repaired. Humans could rely on the complete dimensional wall to resist the attack of Yuan Ko's army. Both sides were in a stalemate around the dimensional wall for a whole day. Although Yuan Ko attacked very valiantly, he did not make much progress. After all, Yanjing City's dimensional barrier system was extremely thick. Even the 12 Zhu Wu had to attack for half a year to break through it. It was simply impossible for Yuan Ko's army to destroy the dimensional barrier in just one day. However, what everyone did not expect was that on that night, with a loud explosion under Yanjing City, the entire super-dimensional wall system instantly vanished into thin air. While the human sword-bearers were in a daze, Yanjing City's greatest means of protection had already been destroyed. "There's a mole. A mole destroyed our dimensional barrier system," countless sword-bearers wailed. This sudden news had completely disrupted the minds of all the humans. The originally calm humans suddenly became extremely terrified. They couldn't understand how the core control room of the super-dimensional wall system, which was obviously so well protected and had several spirit sword-level sword-bearers specially guarding it, was completely destroyed by the opponent in an instant. Those spirit sword-level sword-bearers who were guarding the door didn't even have time to react before they died in the hands of the opponent. And of course, Yuan Ko would not let go of such a wonderful opportunity. As soon as these Yuan Kos noticed the destruction of Yanjing City's dimensional wall system, they immediately reorganized their army and rushed to Yanjing City like a surging river. In a panic, under the leadership of Lu Shihua and Liu Yanling, the humans stood on the city wall regardless of life and death and began to fight desperately with these Yuan Kos on the city wall. Although the human resistance was brave, Yanjing City was too big. The wall alone was hundreds of kilometers long, and on average, there were less than 5 sword-bearers guarding every 100 meters. Facing the tide-like army of Yuan Ko, the human sword-bearers often resisted for less than 2 or 3 minutes before their shields were broken and they died in the hands of Yuan Kos. In an hour, the casualties of the human sword-bearers had exceeded 30%. The outermost city wall was breached, and the humans began to retreat frantically, directly abandoning the 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd city walls. All the sword-bearers gathered on the 2nd city wall, barely blocking the crazy offensive of Yuan Kos. Because the 2nd city wall was the city wall that protected the entire core area, it was also the last barrier of human beings. Thanks to the 1-hour resistance of the sword-bearers at the outermost city wall, a large number of ordinary people were able to retreat to the core area protected by the 2nd city wall. But when they retreated here, the humans had nowhere to retreat. The remaining human refugees were squeezed in the core area like sardines in a can. There were more than 20 people standing on each square meter of land, so one could imagine how bloated the core area was at this time. To put it bluntly, if any Yuan Ko threw a light cannon down, it could kill hundreds or thousands of humans. However, because the core area was small, the total length of the 2nd city wall was only slightly more than 20 kilometers. The human sword-bearers had already formed a complete defense line on this city wall, and Yuan Ko's group could not break through the defense of the 2nd city wall for a while. Therefore, the situation was once again in a stalemate. However, every human knew that this stalemate was only temporary, and at the same time, it was also the last chance that the humans had for a stalemate. Once the 2nd city wall was breached, the humans would lose all means of defense, and all the ordinary people would be directly exposed to Yuan Ko's attack. At that time, the only choice that the humans had was to forcefully spread the human elites to various places in the world, let them hide, and wait for the opportunity to rise again. In the end, whether the humans would have the opportunity to rise again or not, only the will of the heavens would know. Fighting the heavens! Fighting the heavens! On the second line of defense, a sword-bearer suddenly let out a heart-wrenching roar because at this moment, his sword lady was torn into pieces under the siege of more than 10 yuan-kos, and the body of the sword was trampled into pieces. This sword-bearer lost his most beloved and last sword lady. At this moment, he was filled with grief and indignation, and tears of blood flowed from his eyes. Hongjun Jiandi, Your Majesty Hongjun, where are you? Please save us. All of a sudden, this sword-bearer shouted into the sky. His voice was so painful that it seemed to be able to penetrate the entire sky. Yes, Hongjun Jiandi, where exactly is he now? Your Majesty Hongjun, save us! Your Majesty, save the humans, come out quickly! This shout seemed to arouse the thoughts of everyone else. Those sword-bearers who were in grief, indignation, and fear began to shout the name of Gohan and Hongjun Jiandi in unison, hoping that the most powerful sword-bearer in human history could appear in front of them in time and save them from this desperate situation that was close to death. Gohan, where are you? Come back quickly! Even Liu Nianling could not help shouting Gohan's name miserably while being surrounded by 5 Hong-level yuan-kos. Chapter 1552. What the humans didn't know was that Hongjun Jiandi Gohan, who was constantly being shouted and prayed to by them, hoping that he would come to save all humans like a savior, was now only left with his head floating in the air. He was being oppressed by 2 strong people at the flood level to watch and listen to the sorrowful cries of the humans. As for the purpose, there was no need to guess. Sect leader Tong Tian clearly knew that it was impossible to conquer Gohan with physical torture. Then the only thing that could be used was Gohan's obsession and protection of human beings. Sect leader Tong Tian was indeed an old monster who had lived for tens of millions of years. He clearly knew what could really threaten Gohan. Sect leader Tong Tian, come out. I agree to your request. I'll make a deal with you. Gohan shouted wildly. As Gohan's voice sounded, sect leader Tong Tian appeared in front of Gohan. Good disciple, you finally figured it out, sect leader Tong Tian said with a smile. This is all thanks to Master. If Master hadn't entered Yanjing City overnight yesterday and destroyed the control core of the super-dimensional wall protection system in Yanjing City, how could I have agreed to Master's request so readily? Gohan smiled miserably and looked at sect leader Tong Tian. To be able to silently penetrate the super-dimensional wall protection system of Yanjing City, completely destroy the control core in a very short period of time, and even directly kill several spirit sword-level sword-bearers with one sword strike, who else in this world could do this except for the sect leader of Tong Tian? It should be known that sect leader Tong Tian was not Yuan Ko. He was a sage, the sage of all the worlds, including the main world and the dimensional world. Even the source of filth came from sect leader Tong Tian. Sect leader Tong Tian was by no means Yuan Ko, so it was naturally impossible for him to be stopped by the super-dimensional wall protection system that resisted Yuan Ko. He could easily enter the control core and destroy it at the same time. It's not Master's fault. It's your fault. If you hadn't disobeyed Master again and again, Master wouldn't have done such a thing, Tong Tian said. Master, can I ask you a question? Gohan looked at Tong Tian and asked weakly. Of course, my good disciple. Grandmaster Tong Tian laughed. Dare I ask, Master, if I return the 4 immortal-slaying swords to Master and commit suicide in front of Master, would Master be willing to let the humans go? Even if all humans become Master's slaves and work like cows and horses for Master? I only ask for Master's great kindness and benevolence to give up the thought of destroying humanity and the world. I will once again sit as the king of humanity and the master of the world. Is this enough to satisfy Master? Gohan said with tears streaming down his face. From these words, it could be heard that Gohan no longer wanted to live. He only hoped that he could use his death to exchange for the survival of humans, even if he had to become a slave. Instead of answering Gohan's question directly, Tong Tian asked Gohan another question. Hey, disciple, do you know why Master decided to destroy the world and forge a new one? I don't know. Okay, then Master will tell you why. Tong Tian stopped smiling and his face became extremely serious. Let me tell you a truth that even a child knows. If you write a word wrongly, you have to find a way to erase it and write it again. If a word is like that, then what about a world? If the world is wrong, then it should be destroyed and a new world should be created. In fact, disciple, you have always misunderstood me. In your heart, I may be a selfish villain, an ambitious person who wants to control the whole world by myself, right? After saying that, Tong Tian looked at Gohan with an inquiring look. However, Gohan lowered his head and did not directly answer Tong Tian's question. Obviously, he had acquiesced to this point. You don't have to feel embarrassed. In fact, not only you, but my 5 senior brothers and sisters also think so. In their hearts, I, Tong Tian, have always been like this. I only have myself in my heart and no one else. At this point, a disdainful sneer suddenly appeared on sect leader Tong Tian's face. But they never thought that if I, sect leader Tong Tian, only wanted to benefit myself, why would I take in so many disciples, teach them all my skills, and give my primordial spiritual treasures and primordial supreme treasures to them? Ask your 2 senior sisters. Which one of them didn't grow to their current strength under the guidance of Master? I, sect leader Tong Tian, ask myself if I'm worthy of every disciple under me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fought with your 5 shameless senior brothers and sisters for those poor disciples who lost their lives in vain in the great war of God conferment. Let me ask you, except for me, who among my 5 senior brothers and sisters has accepted more disciples than me? Who else could give all the treasures except for the primordial supreme treasures of the sect to their disciples? Neither Yuanshi Tianzuan nor Taishang Laojun has given any primordial spiritual treasure, let alone primordial supreme treasures. In terms of selflessness, I, Tong Tian, am the most selfless person in the untainted land and the universe. Selfish people like my 5 senior brothers and sisters, who only think about themselves and don't care about others, don't deserve to be saints at all. They don't even have the qualification to be saints. They only deserve to be dogs. Tong Tian's face flushed. Good disciple, you must have heard of this saying. Saints are heartless and regard all living things as straw dogs. But I don't accept this saying. I want to turn this saying into saints are benevolent and regard all living things as their children and grandchildren. Therefore, I want to create a world of great benevolence and righteousness. The saints in this world are all responsible for the world. They love each other and influence the entire world with great benevolence and righteousness. Only such a world is a true world, a truly perfect world. This is the world that Master wants to create. At this point, Tong Tian finally finished his words, and Gohan was dumbfounded as he listened. For a long time, Gohan's thinking was very simple. He thought that the reason why Tong Tian wanted to destroy the world was that he wanted revenge or to break through to a higher realm and achieve unprecedented achievements. However, Gohan had never thought that Tong Tian would have such an idea. He wanted to create a new world full of benevolence, righteousness, and love. The greatness of this ideal was comparable to that of Confucius and Marx, the great pioneers of the past. Of course, it was also possible that Tong Tian was lying. He was just trying to deceive Gohan. No one knew what he was really thinking. However, Gohan had a feeling in his heart that what Tong Tian said was true. This was what he was thinking in his heart. After all, at Tong Tian's level, lying had become meaningless. His every word and action was determined by his own will. It was like a human telling an ant that he did not want to kill it, but trampling the ant to pieces. Unless this person was a psychopath, it was meaningless at all. Who would deceive an ant? After that, Tong Tian looked at Gohan curiously and asked, "Good disciple, what do you think after hearing my dream?" No, in terms of dreams, I agree with you very much. I'm even willing to sacrifice my life to realize your dream. Gohan took a deep breath and said, But Master, if this is your dream, you can realize it now. Except for you, the other 5 sages are all dead. You are the only sage. You can change the whole world according to your dream. Why do you have to destroy this world and create another one? I'm willing to swear to God that I'll use all my abilities to help you realize your dream for the rest of my life. Please, Master, leave this world. I can't. Tong Tian shook his head. Although my 5 senior and junior brothers and junior sisters are dead, my master is still alive. I'm not invincible in the world. Hong Jun ancestor, he's not dead yet. Gu Han was shocked by the news, but after thinking about it carefully, it was not strange. After all, Hong Jun ancestor was a realm higher than sect leader Tong Tian. How could he die in the hands of sect leader Tong Tian so easily? This was simply unbelievable. Now the question was, where was the real Hong Jun ancestor? Was he hiding somewhere to recuperate, just like Tong Tian sect leader? Just as Gohan was thinking about this, Tong Tian suddenly laughed. Good disciple, don't think too much. My master is far away, but he's right in front of you. Far away, but he's right in front of you? Gohan was not stupid. After hearing Tong Tian's words, he immediately understood. Hong Jun ancestor was not someone else, but himself. Hong Jun Jiandi. Hong Jun ancestor. It's destined. Gohan suddenly realized. He had never thought of this until he was mentioned by Tong Tian. Only then did Gohan realize that he was Hong Jun ancestor who had disappeared. How could there be so many coincidences in the world? Gu Han was born with an extraordinary aptitude. He was born with the ability to synchronize with all the sword maidens. He was born with the ability to quickly master a profound technique like the 9 swords of mysterious heaven. He was also able to use his own strength to create a supreme sword technique like the chaos sword technique. At the same time, he was also loved by Kanzu, Taishang Laojun, Saint Jiayin, and others. He also easily synchronized the 4 immortal killing sword. Even his title was named Hong Jun Jiandi. All of this was not a coincidence, nor was it a compelling aura. It was because Gohan was extraordinary. He was the first sage since the creation of the untainted land. He had integrated with the way of heaven and was second only to the Great Way and Pangu Hong Jun ancestor. What? 9th junior brother is Hong Jun ancestor. It was also the first time Divine Mother Wudong and Mistress Yun Shao had heard of this shocking news. They looked at Gu Han, who only had a head left, in disbelief. They could not understand how this 9th junior brother, who had been drinking with them a few days ago, turned out to be their master's master's master. He was the biggest boss in the untainted land, Hong Jun ancestor. You two don't have to be too shocked. If he is really the reincarnation of Master, I don't have the guts to call him my disciple. Although my master has always been stingy with me, he is my master who imparted Tao to me. I won't disobey him to this extent, Tong Tian said. Hearing Tong Tian's words, Goddess Wudong and Goddess Yunshao unconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. But at the same time, they were curious. If Gohan was not the reincarnation of Hong Jun ancestor, what was Gohan's real identity? Why did he have anything to do with Hong Jun ancestor? First of all, I want to correct your misconception. Hong Jun ancestor is not a person, but an identity. Just like how he is called Hong Jun Jiandi now. Sect leader Tong Tian explained. Everyone, including Gu Han, showed an expression of listening attentively. I didn't know the so-called truth of this world until 1,000 years ago. In your eyes, we are now stepping on the main world, surrounding the main world are the dimensional worlds, and this main world is the core of all the world. Actually, it's not like that. In fact, the main world we are in is just a dimensional world. The real main world is not our world. As for where the real main world is, I don't know. I only know that the existence in the main world is watching us silently. In their eyes, we are just like puppets. How could this be? How could our world not be the main world? Lady Yunzhao's eyes widened. If her master hadn't said it herself, she wouldn't have believed it. How could her world not be the main world? I really do exist in this world. What's going on with those dimensional worlds? If our world is not the primary world, then what are those dimensional worlds that are attached to our world? Are they a lower-level world? Gu Han asked absent-mindedly. No, those worlds are still dimensional worlds, Tong Tian said as he waved his sleeves. Dozens of balls of the same size floated beside him. Tong Tian pointed at one of the balls and said, "This is our dimensional world." Then he pointed at the other balls and said, "These are the other dimensional worlds." All the dimensional worlds actually overlapped with each other. There was no distinction between primary and secondary, and there was no distinction between strong and weak. Every dimensional world was the same. And when the light shines on these worlds, as soon as sect leader Tong Tian finished speaking, countless rays of light shone from all directions and shot toward these balls. Therefore, Gu Han was able to see the shadows cast by other worlds on the balls that represented his own world. These shadows are the dimensional worlds that you see in our world. These dimensional worlds that look inferior to the main world are actually the projections of countless main worlds in this world. Therefore, although they are of the same level as the main world, they are much weaker than our world and can only be dimensional worlds. This is the truth of this world, Tong Tian concluded. Chapter 1553. What does it have to do with me being Hong Jun ancestor? Gohan asked with a frown. He had no idea what the world Tong Tian sect master mentioned had to do with Hong Jun ancestor. The reason why a main world is born is because of the existence of its main character. Perhaps it can be said that the entire world was born because of the existence of this main character. To put it bluntly, your teacher is only a slightly more important supporting character. Tong Tian sect master said with a smile, and this protagonist is called Hong Jun. The protagonist when the world was created was Hong Jun ancestor. Now the protagonist is Hong Jun Jiandi. Isn't that what it means to be a leveler? Upon hearing Tong Tian sect master's explanation, Gohan suddenly recalled what Fleeting Maple had told him about the identity of a leveler. Master, since Hong Jun ancestor is the protagonist of the world, how did he die in your hands? Since he's the protagonist, it's impossible for him to die. Gohan asked curiously. That's all thanks to you. Sect leader Tongtian's words shocked Gohan. Does the death of Hong Jun ancestor have anything to do with me? Gohan thought. Hong Jun was the protagonist of the previous era, and you are the protagonist of this era. When two Hong Juns are protagonists, they can't meet each other. Once they meet, one of them must die. Tong Tian sect master said. But I've never seen Hong Jun ancestor. How could we? Tong Tian sect master's words made Gohan even more confused. It's true that you haven't met him face to face, but you've met my master's consciousness fragment once. Moreover, it was when my master was still alive. Tong Tian sect master looked at Gohan meaningfully. Good disciple, do you remember the treasure-snatching rock? The treasure-snatching rock? Gohan recalled that in the world of 9 provinces, which he thought was an illusion, his consciousness fragment had entered the treasure-snatching rock and taken the 4 immortal killing swords away from the rock in order to obtain them. Could it be, yes, the treasure-snatching rock was actually something that my master used to monitor me? I didn't know about it and kept it at home like a treasure. Now that I think about it, my master must have known that I was the one who would kill him long ago. He had been guarding against me for a long time. Fortunately, you came. Your consciousness fragment entered the treasure-snatching rock and met Master's consciousness fragment at the same time. When they met, Master's consciousness fragment died on the spot. The treasure-snatching rock, which was secretly controlled by Master, also fell apart because it lost its master and became a pile of fragments. Later, I used those fragments to forge that alternate space. That's why you could enter that alternate space so easily. Because it was originally formed because of your existence. At the same time, when your consciousness fragments collided with each other, the eternal world brush, which was powerful enough to destroy the world, was born. This brush is the greatest treasure you've ever given me. At this point, Tongtian sect master took out a brush from his body. It was a very ordinary brush, so ordinary that Gohan could not see anything different about it. This eternal world brush looks ordinary. In fact, it's so ordinary that it can't even kill a chicken. But it was formed by Hongjuan's destroyed consciousness fragment. It's the only treasure in the world that can kill my master. It's because of this brush that I was able to kill my master. Otherwise, my master would have wanted to kill me. Given my master's realm, which was about to transcend the Great Way, I was not his match at all. Listening to Tongtian sect master's words and looking at the ordinary brush, Gohan could not help but have a frightening guess. If this eternal world brush was Hongjuan's nemesis and had killed the previous Hongjun, would Zhang Tai, who was Hongjun in this life, also be killed by this brush? Unfortunately, Tongtian sect master did not want to answer Gohan's question. He quickly put away the eternal world brush and did not let Gohan see it. Then, he stretched out a hand to Gohan and said, "I've told you what you want to know. Release the 4 immortal killing swords, and I'll send you back to save your humans." "Master, please put the dimensional pocket in my hand first," Gohan said with a wry smile. "Like this?" Tongtian sect master moved his finger, and the dimensional pocket that was originally hanging on Gohan's waist appeared on Gohan's palm. However, there was no reaction from the dimensional pocket. The 4 immortal killing swords did not come out of the pocket. "Are you kidding me?" Sect leader Tongtian's face was filled with anger. "Disciple doesn't dare. Disciple has forgotten. Disciple no longer has a hand, so I'll have to trouble Master to place the dimensional pocket on Disciple's head. Any position is fine. As long as Disciple's true self can come into contact with the dimensional pocket, Disciple will be able to take out the 4 immortal slaying swords," Gohan replied. "Yun Shao, you go." Tongtian sect master hesitated for a moment as if he was worried that Gohan would play some tricks. Therefore, he finally nodded to Yun Shao and asked her to take the dimensional pocket and put it on Gohan's head. Without any hesitation, Yun Shao quickly carried out Tongtian sect master's order and put the dimensional pocket on Gohan's head. This time, he was right. The dimensional pocket, which was originally tightly closed, slowly opened. Immortal killing sword, immortal extinguishing sword, immortal killing sword, immortal trapping sword. 4 sword ladies slowly flew out of the dimensional pocket and floated in front of Tongtian. Immortal slaying, immortal ending, immortal trapping, immortal slaying. You've finally appeared again. I, your master, have finally found you. This time, you can forget about escaping from my grasp. At this point, Tongtian still had a kind expression on his face, looking as amiable as a next-door neighbor. However, in the next second, sect leader Tongtian's expression suddenly changed. His amiable expression turned into one of viciousness and anger. "You 4 bitches! How dare you betray me back then? Today, I will let you experience the feeling of being betrayed by others. So what if you found a new master? Didn't he still throw you to me in the end?" At this moment, Tongtian's resentment toward the 4 immortal slaying swords finally erupted. He made a grabbing motion toward the 4 immortal slaying swords, and they flew toward his palm involuntarily. Right at this moment, a ray of light that was as fast as lightning suddenly flashed out of the dimensional pocket. Even with sect leader Tongtian's eyesight, he could not even see the appearance of this ray of light clearly. The ray of light had already swept the 4 immortal slaying swords and pierced sect leader Tongtian's internal organs. "Bastard! Tongtian's sect master spat out a mouthful of golden blood. He then grabbed the 4 immortal killing swords that had pierced into his body and wanted to pull them out. However, before Tongtian's sect master could exert any strength, the 4 immortal killing swords flew out by themselves and flew in 4 different directions. Finally, they suppressed the 4 directions. A colorful light shield, like a sky curtain, instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. Chapter 1554. Immortal Killing Sword Formation. Sect leader Tongtian covered the 4 bleeding wounds on his body with one hand and looked incredulously at the 4 immortal killing swords that were suppressing the 4 directions in the air. This scene was clearly sect leader Tongtian's trump card, the immortal killing sword formation. However, at this moment, the immortal killing sword formation was in the hands of another person, and this person even used it against him. Guhan. Sect leader Tongtian immediately looked at Guhan. He's here. Lady Yunxiao raised Guhan's head in her hand. Guhan's head was still in her hand, and Guhan's body was still hundreds of meters away from Guhan. This is impossible, this is impossible. Your body has clearly been separated from your head, and there is no sword essence in your body. How can you use the 4 immortal killing swords and the immortal killing sword formation? Sect leader Tongtian said in disbelief. He could not understand how Guhan could use the immortal killing sword formation with only his head. Although sect leader Tongtian had just been resurrected, he had a good understanding of the sword bearers through the impurities that returned to his body, which were fragments of consciousness. He knew that if the sword bearers wanted to control the sword ladies, they must be responsible for providing sword essence to them, and at the same time, their minds must be able to communicate with the sword scars in their bodies. Therefore, sect leader Tongtian separated Guhan's head from his body in advance and isolated the connection between them with magic. Guhan's body seemed to be only hundreds of meters away from Guhan, but in fact it was in another space. Therefore, it was impossible for Guhan to receive the support of the sword essence and sword scars in his body. Therefore, sect leader Tongtian was very sure that Guhan could not control the 4 immortal killing swords. However, what happened in front of him completely disrupted sect leader Tongtian's understanding. Who said my head is separated from my body? A void gate was opened in the sky. Guhan walked out of the void gate with his clean clothes and elegant demeanor. The moment Guhan appeared, the 4 immortal slaying swords simultaneously let out a series of sword cries as if responding to their master. If there was any inharmonious factor at this moment, it would be the fact that Guhan didn't have a head, only a body. This was a headless corpse that walked out of a dimensional pocket. You have another body? Sect leader Tongtian was completely stunned. He instinctively glanced at the body he had sealed. It was also Guhan's body, and his Qingping sword was still stuck in it. Where did Guhan's body come from? Not good. Yunxiao, immediately destroy that head. Sect leader Tongtian seemed to have understood something and immediately ordered Lady Yunxiao. At the same time, he covered his bleeding wound and rushed toward Guhan's head. Here you go. Yunxiao's reaction was rather fast. As soon as sect leader Tongtian gave the order, she threw Guhan's head to the body that suddenly appeared. Guhan's body was obviously stunned, and he immediately placed the head on his neck. The 2 pieces of flesh that had been separated for a long time fused together in an instant. In less than a second, the complete Guhan returned, and Guhan returned to his strongest state. Yunxiao, you also betrayed master. On the other hand, sect leader Tongtian was so angry that his eyes were about to crack. He never expected Lady Yunxiao to betray him at this moment. Unlike Guhan, who became a disciple halfway through his life, Lady Yunxiao was taken in as a disciple by sect leader Tongtian the moment she was born. It could be said that sect leader Tongtian watched Lady Yunxiao grow up, and she was also his favorite disciple. The reason why sect leader Tongtian set up the immortal slaying sword formation along the way was mostly because Lady Yunxiao was captured by Taishang Laojun. Sect leader Tongtian's feelings for Lady Yunxiao were almost on the same level as Gohan's feelings for Lu Shihua. Therefore, sect leader Tongtian could not understand why his favorite disciple would betray him at the last moment. "I'm sorry, Master. I don't want to betray you, but I also love this world, and I don't want to see it destroyed." Lady Yunxiao suddenly knelt in front of sect leader Tongtian and said with tears in her eyes, "I'm sorry, Master. I don't have the face to appear in front of you anymore. I'm going now." After saying that, Lady Yunxiao picked up her primordial chaos golden dipper and hit her head directly. In an instant, her head was smashed into pieces by the primordial chaos golden dipper, and blood splattered all over the ground. At the same time, the golden primordial spirit flew out of Lady Yunxiao's head. Just as the primordial spirit was about to hit the primordial chaos golden chalice, Guhan finally reacted and shouted, "Senior sister." Before the spirit was completely destroyed, he put Lady Yunxiao's spirit and the rest of her body into his dimensional pocket. "Stupid! What's so good about this world? Why don't you follow me and create a new world?" Sect leader Tongtian's face looked much better when he saw Lady Yunxiao committing suicide, but he was also disappointed at her for failing to meet his expectations. "Master, what should I do?" Looking at this scene, the remaining incongruence divine Maiden was completely dumbfounded. She quickly hid behind the Tongtian sect leader and asked him in horror, "Let's go. I haven't fully recovered yet, and I'm not a match for these 4 traitors." Sect leader Tongtian looked at the immortal killing sword formation and said to Goddess Wudong immediately, "Yes, Master." Goddess Wudong said immediately, "You want to leave? Don't even think about it." Gohan snorted coldly, and the circle formed by the 4 immortal killing swords began to close in quickly. The sword lights that filled the sky attacked sect leader Tongtian. At the same time, sect leader Tongtian rushed to the Qingping sword that was stuck in Gohan's body with all his might. This was sect leader Tongtian's only hope. Only with the Qingping sword, sect leader Tongtian had the ability to fight against the immortal killing sword formation. Otherwise, sect leader Tongtian would not even have a weapon that he could use. Although Gohan tried his best to control the immortal killing sword formation to stop sect leader Tongtian ignored his own injuries and went to the Qingping sword first. When he was about to pull out the Qingping sword happily, the sword suddenly turned around and pierced through sect leader Tongtian's heart. It pierced through sect leader Tongtian's heart and created a big hole. This scene was just like when Gohan was plotted against by the Qingping sword. Chapter 1555. Qingping. Sect leader Tongtian murmured Qingping's name, but Qingping paid no attention to him. She continued to launch fierce attacks on sect leader Tongtian. Seeing this, sect leader Tongtian could not help but burst into tears. A sense of desolation welled up in his heart. Sect leader Tongtian was in a very bad state. He had just been freed from the seal, and his strength had not even recovered 1/10 of it. Now, he had come out to deal with Gohan. This was already a terrible situation. What was worse was that sect leader Tongtian had been pierced through by the 4 fairy killing swords and the Qingping sword. His heart was cold and his body was badly injured. In the end, he could only protect Goddess Wudong with one hand and watch helplessly as the 5 swords surrounded him. This time, it would not be so easy for sect leader Tongtian to break out. "Master's good disciple, when did you notice all of this?" Sect Master Tongtian asked Guhan curiously with a bitter smile on his face when he saw that he was in a situation where he could not escape even if he had wings. "Before I answer this question, please answer a question for me, Master or Senior Sister. How did you trap Qingping's will and release his soul?" Gohan looked at the Qingping sword in front of him and asked. "You've discovered it." Goddess Wudong was startled by Gohan's words. She said in a trembling voice, "I don't know. It seems that when Ancestor Qingping appeared in front of us, he was already Ancestor Qingping." "Let me answer your question." Sect leader Tong Tian smiled bitterly and said, "I had anticipated the failure of the war of deification of the gods in advance, so I set up this alternate space early. At the same time, I attached fragments of my consciousness to the treasure-snatching rocks outside to prevent my two senior brothers from forcibly opening the alternate space in the future and destroying my last disciples and disciples. I didn't expect Qingping to enter the alien space. The consciousness fragment I attached to the treasure-snatching rock's entrance immediately entered the Qingping sword's body and helped Qingping suppress the disloyal willpower," Tong Tian explained. Turned out that when Qingpin and Gohan had just arrived at Fusang Island, Qingpin had followed the two human girls to the treasure-snatching rock. As a result, he had entered the alien space inside the treasure-snatching rock. In order to protect the existence of this alternate space, Tong Tian placed his consciousness fragments at the entrance of the treasure-snatching rock. When the Qingpin sword entered, his consciousness fragments immediately sensed the existence of the Qingpin sword and directly entered its body. And in Qingpin's sword, Qingpin's consciousness had the upper hand, suppressing Qingping's consciousness. However, the difference between the two wasn't that great. Qingping had been trying to resist Qingpin's suppression. With the help of Tongtian's consciousness fragments, Qingping had suppressed Qingpin in the blink of an eye. In other words, after entering the alien space, the Qingpin sword was no longer Qingpin's sword, but the real Qingpin sword. This was also the reason why the Qingpin sword had betrayed Gohan and pierced Gohan's heart. This sword was no longer the original Qingpin sword. "What about you, my good disciple? When did you discover that the Qingpin sword had changed?" Tong Tian looked at Gohan and asked curiously. "From the first time I entered this alien space." Gohan glanced at the Qingpin sword in front of him and said slowly, "Actually, when the Qingping sword put on a show in front of me, I had already discovered that my Qingpin sword was no longer the Qingpin sword, but the truth of the Qingping sword. What happened next was just to help you continue the show." "What? You already discovered that we were acting at that time?" Upon hearing Gohan's words, the Wu-Tang goddess was extremely shocked. She had always thought that she was playing Gohan from the beginning to the end, but in the end she was the one being played by Gohan. After the Qingping sword regained control of its body, it immediately found Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao in the alien space. At the same time, it directly revealed its identity and the Tongtian sect leader's consciousness fragment. Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao immediately knelt in front of the Qingping sword, indicating that they would completely obey the Qingping sword's command. Therefore, the real ruler of the entire alien space was not Lady Yunxiao and Goddess Wudong, but the seemingly silly Qingpin behind them. Although Qingping had never taken control of this sword, she had always been by Gohan's side. What Qingpin could see, Qingping could also feel. Therefore, Qingping could be said to have a deep understanding of Gohan and Gohan's temperament and behavior patterns. At the same time, as the most trusted weapon of the Tongtian sect leader, Qingping also knew what the Tongtian sect leader's real purpose was. She also knew that Gohan was the biggest obstacle to the Tongtian sect leader's rise. If she could kill Gohan, there would no longer be any obstacles to the Tongtian sect leader's future plan. However, Qingping also knew that she was no longer a match for Gohan. With the 4 fairy-killing swords and shield in hand, the Qingping sword could not deal with Gohan by itself. Therefore, the Qingping sword finally decided to set a trap and lure Gohan into it. Therefore, although the Qingping sword had regained control of the body and suppressed Qingpin, she still pretended to be Qingpin. Because the two were originally one body and Qingping knew Qingpin very well, she was able to imitate Qingpin so vividly that no one would notice anything wrong. At the same time, Qingping and Qingpin could use this body perfectly. Therefore, to a certain extent, Qingping was also Gohan's sword lady. As long as Qingping purposely hid it, Guhan would not be able to discover the changes that happened to Qingping just by the connection between the sword marks. Qingping was confident enough to hide her true changes. As for Guhan's story in the alternate dimension, be it saving humans or the fact that his senior sister and junior brother went from opposing each other to becoming friends, it was actually all an act that the incongruous Divine Mother and Lady Yuan Shao put on for Guhan. They wanted Guhan to go from being enemies to being close to his senior sister and junior brother. If it was not for the fact that she was afraid that the process would be too fast and sudden, the incongruous Divine Mother would have made Guhan her junior brother the moment she saw him. The reason why she designed such a complicated drama was because Qingping knew Guhan very well. She knew that Guhan was very suspicious. If she did not use this long process and interpretation, as well as all sorts of logical changes in the plot, she would not be able to make Guhan believe that the incongruous Divine Mother and Lady Yuan Shao sincerely wanted to be his senior sister. All in all, it was just a well-arranged drama. And all this drama was for the moment when she met sect leader Tong Tian. In fact, the day before sect leader Tong Tian appeared, sect leader Tong Tian had already secretly come to the alternate dimension and met the incongruous Divine Mother and Lady Yuan Shao to decide how to capture and kill Guhan. This was also the scene that Guhan saw yesterday. Sect leader Tong Tian gave his 8 trigrams immortal robe to the incongruous Divine Mother and coaxed Guhan to put it on. In this way, he put a pair of tight handcuffs on Guhan's hands. Naturally, sect leader Tong Tian and the others would be able to win. It had to be said that this was a very good trap. If the person who fell into this trap was not Guhan, he would probably have fallen into the trap and could not get out. However, the incongruous Divine Mother was not facing anyone but Guhan. Therefore, this plan was immediately discovered by Guhan. In fact, when Guhan saw Qingping for the first time, he felt that something was wrong. Although Guhan could not tell what was wrong, he just felt that this Qingping was not the real Qingping, even though Qingping's acting was so realistic. Later on, Guhan remembered that this chubby Qingping's mouth had become extremely picky after being fed by him. No matter how good the pork was, Qingping would never eat it without careful cooking. However, the first thing Guhan saw when he saw the poor was that the poor was happily eating the longevity fruit in his hands, which were the chubby little bugs. These bugs were simply roasted on the fire, and the poor did not mind eating them into his stomach. He even looked like he was wolfing them down. In order to confirm this, Guhan had secretly gotten a longevity fruit, and after thinking about it in the way of a monster, he took a bite. He found that other than the light taste, there were almost no obvious characteristics, and there was even a faint sour taste in it. Guhan understood Qingping. This was definitely not Qingping's taste, and Qingping would definitely not eat this thing. Qingping's act of wolfing down food was originally to show off his foodie attribute, but he did not expect it to expose his problem in the end. Just based on this, can you confirm that Qingping is not your sword maiden? Aren't you being a little too hasty? After Guhan finished explaining the matter, the goddess of Wudong said with a wry smile, "That's not entirely true, so I tested Qingping once as well." At this point, Guhan pointed to his chest. Only then did the Grandmaster of Heaven and the goddess of Wudong realize that there was a small cloth bag hanging on Guhan's chest. "What is this?" the goddess of Wudong asked curiously. "This is called a nurturing pouch," Guhan said indifferently. "If she really is Qingping, as long as she sees this bag, she will impatiently crawl in. The real Qingping has always been close to my heart. As for that Qingping, I don't know if she didn't see this bag, or if she instinctively hated it and wanted to stay with me. In the end, she chose to ignore this nurturing pouch, and I was finally sure that she wasn't my Qingping." Chapter 1556. I didn't expect that I, Tong Tian, would be defeated by a nurturing pouch. After listening to Guhan's explanation, Tong Tian looked up at the sky and sighed. I've already expected that you would be my biggest obstacle after 1,000 years. Therefore, before I was sealed, I threw Qingping out. At the same time, I told her to lurk around you as soon as you appeared. At that time, she could coordinate with me and help me kill you, my evil disciple. I didn't expect that Qingping would be the cause of my success and failure. I still lost to Qingping in the end, and I actually gave it to you personally. Tong Tian sighed. It turned out that the reason why Qingping appeared beside Gohan was actually arranged by Tong Tian in advance. He originally thought that Qingping's sword could become his trump card in the end, but he didn't expect that this trump card would pierce through his heart instead. It was sect leader Tong Tian himself who gave his most precious sword to Gohan. Only sect leader Tong Tian himself knew how helpless sect leader Tong Tian's words were. Then how did you gain control of Qingping? If I'm not wrong, it's still my Qingping who is controlling Qingping's sword now. Tong Tian looked at Qingping's sword in front of him and said gloomily. Nothing, it's just a mandatory order. Gohan said lightly, Master, since you know the sword bearer so well, you should know that as long as the sword mark is still in my body, as long as I give a mandatory order to the sword mark, the sword lady must act according to my will, no matter what her will is. Mandatory order. I actually forgot about this. Hearing what Gohan said, Tong Tian's face suddenly changed. It seemed that he really forgot about this variable. Actually, you can't blame me. It's not that you forgot about this design, but that your Qingping forgot about this setting. Gohan looked at Qingping's sword lovingly. I treat Qingping sincerely, and I'm never willing to give any order that goes against Qingping's own will. In the 20 years that I've been with Qingping, I've never given any mandatory order to Qingping, so your Qingping probably forgot about this. Otherwise, she would definitely ask Master to trap her in the dimensional space instead of directly stabbing the sword into that corpse. I see. Tong Tian smiled bitterly. At the same time, his eyes fell on the headless corpse, and he asked curiously, This corpse shouldn't be yours, right? Whose corpse is it? It's a person named Wuzhang Shifang. Master, have you ever heard of this name? Gohan asked Tong Tian with a sigh. Wuzhang Shifang? Tong Tian was stunned for a moment, and then he shook his head. He's just a nobody. How can I recognize him? But such a nobody became the key to killing you, Master. Gohan let out a long sigh and could not help but recall what happened more than 20 days ago. No one knew that on the night they arrived in Yamato City, Gohan did not stay in his room. Instead, he had been sitting in Wuzhang Shifang's room and chatting with Wuzhang Shifang for a whole night. He had already understood the change of the poor sword and decided to beat him at his own game. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Just like what happened today, he suddenly appeared from an impossible place and caught sect leader Tong Tian off guard. But where exactly did he come from? How could he catch a powerhouse like sect leader Tong Tian by surprise? In the end, Gohan fixed his eyes on his dimensional pocket. Because living people could not survive in the dimensional pocket, Gohan believed that once he suddenly came out of the dimensional pocket, Tong Tian would not be able to detect it, let alone guard against it. However, in order to achieve this goal, Gohan had to hide in the dimensional pocket in advance, and outside the dimensional pocket, there had to be someone who could cooperate with him to make sect leader Tong Tian believe that the person outside was the real him. Therefore, Gohan went to Wuzhang Shifang. This time, Gohan did not hide anything. He told Wuzhang Shifang everything about sect leader Tong Tian, including all his plans. Finally, he asked Wuzhang Shifang to decide whether he wanted to help Gohan at the risk of losing his life. In fact, Gohan's decision itself was also taking a huge risk. After all, Wuzhang Shifang was a traitor who betrayed mankind. If Wuzhang Shifang revealed all this to the people of that organization, Gohan's plan would fall short of success. In the end, Wuzhang Shifang did not let Gohan down. After a long hesitation, Wuzhang Shifang finally nodded and agreed to Gohan's request, allowing Gohan to cut off his head. What happened next was easy. At the edge of Fusang Island, Liu Ling had already waited there in advance according to Gohan's arrangement to bring back all the humans and sword-bearers from Yamato City. However, in order to fool others, Liu Ling directly changed into Song Yifei's appearance under Song Yifei's manipulation. In this way, outsiders and spies would think that Song Yifei was returning to Yanjing City with these humans. Anyway, Liu Ling had always been elusive. Occasionally disappearing for a day would not arouse others' suspicion. Song Yifei and Gohan returned to Yamato City together. Song Yifei changed into Wuzhang Shifang's appearance and continued to stay in Yamato City. Except for issuing some basic orders, he had been staying in his room. Occasionally, he would show up to show his existence. Because a large number of sword-bearers had left Yamato City, Wuzhang Shifang's passive behavior seemed very normal. There was no doubt that it was because his dream had suffered a huge blow and he needed time to recover. In fact, no one knew that the real Wuzhang Shifang's body and head had already been separated. The head was kept in a medical cabin while the body was kept in a dimensional pocket. When Incongruence Goddess forced Gohan to change his clothes, Gohan had already keenly sensed that the enemy was about to make a move. At the same time, it was also the most critical moment of Gohan's plan. Gohan used the excuse that he needed to take off his clothes as an excuse to send Incongruence Goddess away. Then, he cut off his head at lightning speed and threw his body into his dimensional pocket. At the same time, he fused Wuzhang Shifang's body and his head together. This seemingly inconceivable and frightening operation was actually a very simple task in Gohan's hands. He only needed to use his consciousness fragments to control the nanomachines to stitch the head and the body together. For Gohan, the real problem was how to control Wuzhang Shifang's body to fight. The reason Gohan wanted to use Wuzhang Shifang's body was for the sword marks and sword essences in Wuzhang Shifang's body. If that was not the case, Gohan could use an ordinary person's corpse. However, this corpse could not simulate the strength that an Emperor sword-bearer should have. Moreover, there would be no sword marks in the body. This would not deceive the Grandmaster of Heaven. Therefore, Gohan had to use the body of an immortal sword-bearer. However, there was another problem. Although this body was controlled by Gohan, the sword marks and sword essences in the body could not be used by Gohan. This was because Wuzhang Shifang's sword marks were connected to Wuzhang Shifang's soul. This was something that Gohan could not imitate. In the end, Wuzhang Shifang could only make a greater sacrifice. He took a risk and let Gohan take out his brain. Then, Gohan placed it in his abdominal cavity. At the same time, he connected the eye nerves in Gohan's head. In this way, Wuzhang Shifang could fight the Grandmaster of Heaven with Gohan's head on his neck. The inspiration for this idea came from the story of the Xingtian Grand Wizard in the Sage Relic. Without a head, he used his belly as his head to fight the Celestial Emperor. It happened to be used by Gohan in this matter. However, in this way, Wuzhang Shifang would have to take a great risk. According to Gohan's speculation, as long as the Grandmaster of Heaven still wanted to get the 4 immortal slaying swords, he would not kill him directly. He would definitely keep him alive. However, the Grandmaster of Heaven might only keep his head and destroy his body to completely destroy the possibility of Gohan's counterattack. In this case, the brain in the body's belly would be in a fatal danger. Although Gohan had left a part of Wuzhang Shifang's brain and soul in the dimensional pocket in advance, just like when he repaired Lu Shihua, Gohan could create a new body for Wuzhang Shifang. However, the destruction of a large number of souls was a fatal thing for the old Wuzhang Shifang. Even if he was repaired later, it would be impossible for him to return to his previous state. He would become even older. More importantly, he would completely lose his sword marks and sword essences, and become an ordinary person from then on. The reason why Lu Shihua could be resurrected to his complete state was that Mingyuan Jiandi secretly protected Lu Shihua's most important purple mansion. However, at that time, Guhan would not be able to protect Wuzhang Shifang's purple mansion. In the end, Wuzhang Shifang agreed to Guhan's request without hesitation. There was the most incredible deceptive trick in history. The head and body that were split into two by the Grandmaster of Heaven actually belonged to two different sword-bearers, while the real body had been staying in the dimensional pocket. What happened next was needless to say. Guhan tricked the Grandmaster of Heaven into letting him open the dimensional pocket. Then, under the control of the fragments of consciousness and soul that Guhan deliberately left in his body directly came out with the 4 immortal slaying swords and launched the most fatal blow to the Grandmaster of Heaven, who was caught off guard and completely unprepared. It was precisely because of this shocking blow that the history of the entire world changed at this moment. Chapter 1557. Good plan, good plan. Disciple, you're really amazing. You've even schemed against me. You're really worthy of being my disciple. After listening to Guhan's explanation, sect leader Tongtian let out a long sigh and said, "Come on, let's do it. Let's see how capable my disciple is, and whether he can really kill his master." "Yes, master." Guhan nodded. The 4 immortal killing swords and the Qinpin sword, which were originally floating beside him, moved again. Under Guhan's control, the 4 immortal killing swords did not attack, but suppressed the 4 directions to prevent sect leader Tongtian from escaping the immortal killing sword formation. It was the 4 immortal killing swords that were responsible for the attack. Under the control of Guhan, countless surging sword qis gushed out of the 4 immortal killing swords. At this time, there was no need for any mysterious swordsmanship. There were so many sword qis that sect leader Tongtian had no chance to dodge. He could only fight against these dense sword qis head-on. Of course, sect leader Tongtian did not care about ordinary sword qi. Those sword qi could not even hurt a hair of sect leader Tongtian. However, these sword qi came from the 4 immortal killing swords. The 4 immortal killing swords were the strongest killing method in the world and the embodiment of the killing intent of the Great Way. The murderous intent and sharpness in the sword qi were something that even sect leader Tongtian could not completely defend against. The main reason why sect leader Tongtian was sealed by other sages was that the 4 immortal killing swords were on the side of the sages. In the face of the extremely terrifying murderous intent of the 4 immortal killing swords, sect leader Tongtian had no way to deal with it. 1,000 years ago, sect leader Tongtian was already in such a state. 1,000 years later, sect leader Tongtian, who had been seriously injured, naturally had no better means to deal with it. He could only choose to fight it head-on. Soon, sect leader Tongtian was covered in wounds and blood from head to toe. Fortunately, Guhan, the controller of the immortal killing world, was not a sage. Otherwise, if Guhan had reached the level of a sage and mastered the power of the Way of Heaven, sect leader Tongtian would have died as long as he injected this power into the sword qi of the 4 immortal killing swords. Although the Tongtian sect leader could still resist the attacks of the immortal slaying sword formation, the incongruence Divine Mother was almost at her limit. Although Guhan did not care about the incongruence Divine Mother at all, nor did he plan to waste his sword qi on her, the incongruence Divine Mother was still affected by a few strands of sword qi, and it was only those strands of sword qi that severed an arm and a leg of the incongruence Divine Mother. There was also a huge gash on her stomach. Black demon qi seeped out of the wound, and the incongruence Divine Mother seemed to have aged tremendously in an instant. This is too terrifying. Little junior brother is actually this terrifying when he's fighting with all his might. He was really putting on a show when he said he was in the alternate space. Looking at the terrifying wound on her body, the incongruence Divine Mother recalled how she was evenly matched with Guhan in the alternate space and immediately felt ashamed. She had always thought that the difference between her and Gohan was not that great, and that her master did not need to set so many traps to deal with Gohan. The reason why the incongruous Divine Mother cooperated with the Qingping Sword's plan and put on a show was entirely because of the Qingping Sword's suppression. Therefore, the incongruous Divine Mother's resistance and disdain toward Gohan was particularly real when she was acting, because that was what she really thought. It was only now that the incongruous Divine Mother realized how wrong she was. She could not even withstand 3 strands of sword chi from Gohan, and yet she laughably thought that she could be evenly matched with Gohan. But ninth junior brother's strength is already close to the level of a sage. No, with his current state, I'm afraid that even the weakest sage, Goddess Nuwa, is no match for him. The incongruous Divine Mother thought to herself. Back in the myriad immortal formation, she had tried to challenge Goddess Nuwa, who was the weakest, to see the gap between her and a sage. In the end, the incongruous Divine Mother was defeated by Goddess Nuwa in just 5 moves. At that time, the huge gap made the incongruous Divine Mother feel disheartened. She lamented that the gap between a sage and a sage was like heaven and earth. But now, with just 3 strands of sword chi, she was already on the verge of death. The incongruous Divine Mother could not help but lament that Gohan's strength might have already reached the level of Goddess Nuwa in the past. Just as the incongruous Divine Mother was thinking about this, her pupils suddenly contracted. A strand of sword chi came at her with great force. It was so fast that she did not even have time to react. She could only watch as the sword chi slashed at her other arm, crippling both of her arms. "Master, save me!" The incongruous Divine Mother was completely flustered. If another strand of sword chi came at her now, she would probably die. Therefore, the incongruous Divine Mother could no longer care about anything else. She could only frantically seek help from the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Disciple, wait there for me to save you." Seeing that the incongruous Divine Mother was severely injured, the Grandmaster of Tongtian looked anxious. Without saying a word, he began to rush toward the incongruous Divine Mother. In order to reach the incongruous Divine Mother as soon as possible, the Grandmaster of Tongtian did not even care about dodging along the way. After taking a dozen strands of fairy-slaying sword chi head-on, he rescued the incongruous Divine Mother to his side. After grabbing the incongruous Divine Mother, the Grandmaster of Tongtian immediately said to her, "Hurry up and change back to your original form. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you." "Yes, Master." The incongruous Divine Mother did not hesitate at all. After hearing the Grandmaster of Tongtian's order, her body immediately turned into a puff of smoke. When the smoke dissipated, the incongruous Divine Mother's body was already gone. In its place was a small mountain hovering next to the Grandmaster of Tongtian's hand. The incongruous Divine Mother's original form was the legendary Black Mountain. It was the first mountain formed naturally after Pangu split the world apart. Later on, it absorbed the spirit chi of the world and turned into a human form, which was how the incongruous Divine Mother came to be. "Good disciple, I'll definitely save you." The Grandmaster of Tongtian stuffed the Black Mountain that the incongruous Divine Mother had turned into his clothes. He then continued to fight the fairy-slaying sword formation. The battle lasted for more than 10 minutes. Although the fairy-slaying sword formation was unparalleled in power, it was naturally impossible to destroy the Grandmaster of Tongtian, who was a sage, in a short period of time. Even the few sages back then could not do it. In the end, the sages could only sacrifice themselves to seal the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Gohan, you're here. That's great, I've finally found you." Song Yifei's excited voice was heard when Gohan was trying his best to kill the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Why are you here?" Gohan asked when he saw Song Yifei. "When I saw all the monsters in the alternate space running out, I knew that the plan had begun. I've secretly followed those monsters to the Grandmaster of Tongtian's lair according to your plan. When I was about to save my master, I heard those monsters say that you're already dead. So I. Song Yifei's voice sounded like she was about to cry. You silly girl, I won't die so easily. Gohan sighed. Song Yifei's master was already in front of him, but after hearing the news, she left her master behind and came to find him. Although this friendship touched Gohan very much, if Mingyuan Jiandi knew about it, he might even want to kill Gohan. Forget it, it's a good thing that you're here. I have no time to worry about the situation in Yanjing City now. I'll have to trouble you to go to the outskirts of Yanjing City and tell me how the war situation there is. Gohan immediately said to Song Yifei. In fact, Gohan's eyes were still paying attention to the situation in Yanjing City from time to time. However, Gohan was now hundreds of kilometers away from Yanjing City. Gohan could barely see that humans and Yuan Ko were still in a stalemate in the core area of Yanjing City. He knew nothing about the specific situation, so he could only ask Song Yifei to go and check it out. Okay, be careful. Song Yifei nodded and went immediately. About 10 minutes later, she hurriedly ran back. When she was about to say something, she saw that Gohan was sweating profusely while controlling the immortal killing sword formation and the Grandmaster of Tongtian. She hesitated for a moment and said, "The situation is good. Lu Shihua and Liu Yanling are in a stalemate with Yuan Ko. It should be no problem for them to hold on for another 1 or 2 hours. Tell me the truth." Seeing Song Yifei's little hesitation, how could Gohan not know what she was thinking? She was afraid that the bad news would distract him in the battle with the Grandmaster of Tongtian, so she deliberately hid the truth. Song Yifei was still hesitating whether to tell the truth to Gohan. The extinction of all human beings is at this moment. You must tell me the truth. Otherwise, even if I defeat the Grandmaster of Tongtian, the human beings will be extinct. What's the point of this for me? Gohan shouted to Song Yifei. Hearing this, Song Yifei's eyes became hot, and hot tears flowed down his cheeks. In the end, he said, the situation is very bad. Lu Shihua is about to die. The number of run-level bandits attacking Miss Linlin has increased to 5. More than half of the human sword-bearers are dead or wounded. The city wall is covered in blood, and broken swords are everywhere. I estimate that in 20 minutes at most, I'm afraid the entire core area's defense line will. Okay. There's no need to say more. I already know. Gohan rudely interrupted Song Yifei's words. He took a deep look at the Grandmaster of Tongtian, who was surrounded by the immortal killing sword formation. Finally, he took a step forward and walked directly into the immortal killing sword formation. At the same time, he grabbed the wandering Qinpin sword. Master, let me deal with you personally. Gohan shouted. Okay, let me see what my disciple is capable of. Grandmaster of Tongtian also shouted. Although he was seriously injured at this time, he was still heroic. Chapter 1558. 9 Swords of Xiantian, Sword Dipper. As soon as Gohan attacked, he directly used the killing move of the 9 Swords of Xiantian. Song Yifei, who was watching from the side, did not even see what happened. In the next second, Gohan suddenly appeared beside sect leader Tongtian and stabbed the Qinpin sword into sect leader Tongtian's heart again. 9 Swords of Xiantian. When he saw Gohan using the 9 Swords of Mysterious Heaven, sect leader Tongtian's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. He used his hands to grab the impoverished sword in Gohan's hands with his bare hands. Sword break. Seeing that the Qinpin sword was grabbed by sect leader Tongtian, Gohan's eyes flashed and he used another skill of the 9 Swords of Xiantian. The Qinpin sword suddenly burst out with a sword sound. Sect leader Tongtian's face instantly changed and revealed a miserable expression. At the same time, he involuntarily let go of his hands, but before he let go, he pushed forward and finally pushed Gohan's body away. 9 Swords of Xiantian. This is my eldest senior brother's swordsmanship. Why do you know my eldest senior brother's swordsmanship? After pushing Gohan away, sect leader Tong Tian did not care about his bloody right hand at all. Instead, he directly asked such a question to Gohan. Please forgive me, Master. Disciple forgot to tell Master. Disciple doesn't only have you as a master, old Lord Taishang is also Disciple's master, and he took Disciple as a disciple decades before Master. Gohan honestly replied. Well, eldest senior brother is indeed my eldest senior brother. I always thought that I was the only one who buried a chess piece around you. I didn't expect that eldest senior brother also had a chess piece. Sect leader Tong Tian sighed and immediately showed a disdainful expression. But my good disciple, my eldest senior brother is good at Zen and Taoism, but when it comes to swordsmanship, he is not even as good as a 3-year-old child. The swordsmanship he created is really not pleasing to the eye. It is not at the same level as my swordsmanship at all. Today, I'll teach you the orthodox sect of Jie school. As soon as sect leader Tongtian's voice faded, his bloody right hand suddenly reached into his bosom and pulled out a pale, bone-like long sword. 9 Deaths lifeless sword. Seeing this long sword, Song Yifei was the first to let out a scream because he was too familiar with this sword. So, this sword is called the 9 Deaths lifeless sword. I've never heard of this name before. It really isn't a good sword. Sect leader Tong Tian naturally heard Song Yifei's words. He looked at the 9 Deaths lifeless sword in his hand with an extremely disdainful expression and said, If it were not for the fact that I couldn't find a good sword, this piece of trash would not be worthy of my use. Alas, it's a pity that I don't have the Qingping sword, so I can only reluctantly use this piece of trash. Sect leader Tong Tian sighed, as if using the 9 Deaths lifeless sword was a disgrace to his identity. Although the 9 Deaths lifeless sword was not famous in Untainted Land, it was still an emperor sword lady. It was really pitiful that it was belittled by sect leader Tong Tian. Don't insult my master's sword. Hearing sect leader Tong Tian's insult, Song Yifei immediately shouted angrily. Then, he thought of something and hurriedly asked, Bastard, where did you take my master? Where is my master? Your master? Sect leader Tong Tian said with a thoughtful expression. Is she the human sword holder who was possessed by the fragment of my consciousness when I found my primordial spirit? That's her. What did you do to my master? Song Yifei asked excitedly. Originally, I planned to spare her life for the sake of her guarding my primordial spirit for hundreds of years. However, she's really too insensible. She actually dared to attack me, and even boldly left a scar on my body. How can I keep such a rebellious junior? But little girl, you can rest assured that junior did not suffer too much before her death. I just extracted the fragment of her consciousness from her body, and she died because of the exhaustion of her lifespan. She died very peacefully, which could be considered a good end. Sect leader Tong Tian said kindly. You bastard! You killed my master! I'm going to kill you! Song Yifei suddenly fell into a state of madness when she heard the news of Mingyuan Jiandi's death. Without saying anything, she picked up the sword lady in her hand and was ready to fight with sect leader Tong Tian in the immortal killing sword formation. Get the hell back! Guhan would let Song Yifei enter this dangerous battlefield. He controlled the 2 immortal slaying sword chi to strike Song Yifei's body and send him flying. At the same time, he said to Song Yifei, Yifei, calm down. Senior Ming Yuan's lifelong wish was to die as a normal human. Her greatest wish has been fulfilled. Don't be so impulsive. Although what Gohan said was the hard truth, how could Song Yifei listen to it at this time? After being sent flying by Gohan's immortal killing sword chi, she still wanted to rush into the immortal killing sword formation. In desperation, Gohan directly knocked Song Yifei out with the immortal killing sword chi, and then threw her into the void to prevent her from spoiling his plan. What a good child who respects her master. She's much better than your unfilial disciple, sect leader Tong Tian said with admiration when he saw Song Yifei trying her best to avenge her master. Cut the crap. Give me your life. Guhan snorted coldly and once again charged toward sect leader Tong Tian with his sword. Forget it. I'll let you see the orthodox Jie school's trump card. It's the sword technique that killed Master Hong Jun back then. With the 9-death sword in hand, sect leader Tong Tian's temperament changed instantly. His bloody body suddenly began to move, and a strong murderous aura enveloped him. This murderous aura was so strong that it was not inferior to the 4 immortal killing swords of the Supreme Master of the Killing Path. This is... Seeing sect leader Tong Tian's state, Guhan's right eyelid twitched involuntarily. Guhan found sect leader Tong Tian's state very familiar. Green lotus thorn. Pick. Drill. Then, sect leader Tong Tian used a set of orthodox techniques of the Jie school that he mentioned. It seemed to be some very simple moves, such as simple stabbing, simple picking, and simple drilling. It was completely for beginners to learn, and it was the basic moves of the sword Tao. Such simple moves seemed to be extremely mysterious in sect leader Tong Tian's hands. Even though Guhan's swordsmanship had reached the peak, he still felt very tired when facing sect leader Tong Tian's basic swordsmanship. No matter how exquisite Guhan's swordsmanship was to fight back, sect leader Tong Tian would dodge all of them. In the end, sect leader Tong Tian would attack Guhan's body, making Guhan's body bleed. This was the first time that Guhan was injured since he suddenly came out of the dimensional pocket. What kind of swordsmanship is this? After suffering 3 consecutive strikes from sect leader Tong Tian, Guhan had to take the initiative to distance himself from sect leader Tong Tian. At the same time, he mobilized countless immortal-killing sword chi to launch a tide-like attack at sect leader Tong Tian. He also forcibly interrupted sect leader Tong Tian's attack so that he could be in a safe position and have a chance to ask sect leader Tong Tian. What? You want to learn? Let me teach you. Sect leader Tong Tian said to Guhan kindly, Good disciple, come here. I will teach you this swordsmanship step by step. No need. Guhan curled his lips and said, Master, may I ask if this swordsmanship of yours is 3 green lotus swords? How do you know? Sect leader Tong Tian was stunned. He was really stunned. Because while he was stunned, more than 10 immortal-killing sword chi pierced into his body without any hindrance, leaving more than 10 wounds on his body. At the same time, sect leader Tong Tian woke up from his stupor. The reason why sect leader Tong Tian was in a daze was because this sword art was truly his most powerful sword art. Even his 8 inner disciples had never seen it before, let alone learning it. Ever since sect leader Tong Tian researched this swordsmanship, it had been deeply hidden by him. Sect leader Tong Tian was confident that even the other 6 sages did not know that he had a trump card called 3 green lotus swords. However, how on earth did Guhan know the name of such a swordsmanship that had been kept secret? Sect leader Tong Tian could not help but ask Guhan again, How on earth do you know the name of 3 green lotus swords? Tell me. Haha, I not only know the name of 3 green lotus swords, I also know how to use it. Guhan smiled coldly. Then, his body began to move up and down, just like sect leader Tong Tian's. An extremely strong killing intent surrounded Guhan's entire body. How could you? Sect leader Tong Tian was completely dumbfounded. He had never taught the 3 green lotus swords to anyone, so how could it be used by his greatest opponent, even though this greatest opponent was also his disciple? Could it be her? A person's figure suddenly flashed in sect leader Tong Tian's mind. However, he did not have much time to think, because Guhan's next attack was like a surging tide. The reason why the green lotus 3 swords was so powerful was not because of the sword skill itself. In fact, the green lotus 3 swords itself did not contain any sword skills. The true strength of the green lotus 3 swords lay in the strengthening of the body, will, and soul. This was the true strength of the Green Lotus Three Swords. In the face of such a powerful blessing, any fancy sword skills were actually meaningless. Only the most basic sword movements could bring out the strongest effect. This was also the reason why sect leader Tongtian only used the basic sword skills. Previously, when Gohan used it, there were countless side effects. He even had to have intercourse before he could use the third move of 3 Green Lotus Swords. That was because this was a sword skill developed by sages for sages to use. 4 sages who had cut off the 3 separations and only had their true self. All kinds of side effects could not affect their true self. If Gohan wanted to use 3 Green Lotus Swords before he became a sage, he would inevitably suffer from this problem. In fact, even though he had become an Emperor Sword-level sword wielder, Gohan was still suffering from the side effects of 3 Green Lotus Swords. "I have to finish this battle as soon as possible," Gohan said to himself again. Then, he fully activated the 3 swords of Green Lotus and clashed with sect leader Tongtian again. This time, sect leader Tongtian could no longer use the 3 swords of Green Lotus to gain the upper hand. Both of them could only rely on the simplest and most basic sword skills to fight. In this way, the two of them were evenly matched in terms of sword skills. "Good disciple, although I don't know where you learned 3 Green Lotus Swords, it doesn't matter. I can still play with you for a few more days. But your human clansmen don't have much time left. If you don't help them, I'm afraid they will all die," sect leader Tongtian said with a sneer as he clashed with Gohan's sword light. Sect leader Tongtian's purpose was very simple. He wanted to distract Gohan and force Gohan to rush to Yanjing City to help human beings. Then, he could escape from the suppression of the fairy-killing sword formation and escape. "I will save them, but before that, I will definitely kill you first," Gohan said with a fierce look in his eyes. At the same time, he stopped the basic sword skills in his hands. After distancing himself from sect leader Tongtian again, he said lightly, "The 9 swords of mysterious heaven is my master's sword skill, and the 3 Green Lotus Swords is also my master's sword skill. Next, master, please experience the sword skill created by your disciple, which completely belongs to your disciple." When Gohan said this, Qingpin's sword could not help but emit a chaotic 5-colored light. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.